welcome to the Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast. Good God. Episode, we might have to have our first ever retake. All right. Welcome to the Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, episode 213.
Wow. Our first? Was that like, do you think that? I think we did it one other time. Or one time we thought we were recording and we weren't. And then we had to do the first 20 minutes over again and we were pissed.
True. But I've never had to do a do-over. I've never had to stop, and I never fumbled the intro in 213 episodes. I never did that or any of that stuff. Not that I'm something special, but I will tell you this. We can do podcasts as a one-take fucker. That I know.
Yeah.
This podcast here, we can do it.
Essentially, it is a one-take fucker if you watch, other than if we have to take a shit break or anything else. But we've recorded them. I just usually edit down the audio one just to cut down some of those pauses in between. Sorry, I'm going to make it a habit because I was furious and I got to fix these fucking headphones.
Fix them, buddy.
Just lose my mind. Of course,
yeah, I don't want you to lose
it. They're fixed in like T-minus 10 seconds. But you saw how long I was off. I was trying to get them fixed in that time frame. I couldn't do it. It was like driving me crazy. But also, I couldn't use my wireless. It's just been, I've had a Dave Z morning with technology, I guess.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, you have. It's rough. I know. I'm very well aware of what that feels like. And it's been a. This is what happens, folks. This is what happens, listeners. To get the shows together, first and foremost, we're recording at a different time than usual because C had something going on, so we had to push this over to this time. And then me, here's the weird thing about me, and it's probably a fault. And I bring it on myself, but I'm so messed up in the head that I have to do when I see a time, when I have an engagement at any time, my whole day revolves around that. And what I mean by that is, if I'm recording at 2:00 today, that means the night before I'm going to go to bed late and I'm going to probably sleep until like 11, because then that gives me just enough time to get up, to take a shower, to have breakfast, to unwind, to do everything I have to do to take care of, to be right here at 2, to be off at a certain time. And then after that certain time, I have to do something else and go elsewhere. So my entire day, I always do this. And what always happens is C has a time to do something, and then he'll come around and say, hey, I got back earlier than I thought, which does happen. It happened today. Well, and now as a result, I would rather get on as soon as possible so I could get off as soon as possible, because that means maybe I'll have an extra hour in the day to putz around later. Now,
well, I'm glad. I thought you were worried.
I'm not worried. No, I just didn't take a shower or any of that shit. I barely had time to see. This is what I'm saying about me. If I know I'm recording at 1, at 2, that means I'm going to have breakfast eaten, coffee drank, and stuff by 1. Then at 1:00, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to shave. Everything is timed. Just I always have everything squared away. It's like a sickness, but I'm never late. So the thing is, I do everything in a certain order, and then I'm like, okay, that gives me 1:45. That gives me enough time to get on, get the computer loaded, do this, do that, and start at 2. So now if he comes on and says I want to go early, I could say I'm back early. Well, can we still make it 2? I can't say no to the opportunity of starting anything early so I could finish early, because I have too many other engagements, which are always like in the air, that I always say, well, I got to do this today. Like my mother wants me to have dinner, something else. Yeah. I'm like, well, because of that, I can't do it, because I didn't know. My mother waits till the day before to start talking about it. I've already made plans. I said, I got to record the podcast tomorrow. I go, usually do it in the morning this time. So now I rush. So there's always something going on after recording.
Then you can get the dinner at least maybe now. So
well, maybe I do feel better. Dinner.
I fucked up my schedule too, because initially we recorded in the morning, took my mom out for brunch. We ate. We didn't even rush it. We were just home early. So that's why I said, hey, I'm home, but no rush. We could still go at 2. But I thought Christian didn't play basketball till 7. It's 5 or 5:30, 5:30. So we had plenty of time. But that's why I just said, okay, well, that gives us a buffer. And now maybe now you can get to dinner, and then I don't have to be so rushed either right after.
There
So
you go.
it all works out, except for my wireless fucking headphones and those the big fucking cut. Well, I fixed them now because like the thing was fucking falling off. I was losing my mind, but I'm not changing it because everything's working. So this was meant. Everything happens for a reason. I say.
Yeah.
I'll say today, and I'll always say that. Saying it right fucking now. That's what I'm saying it for.
So this cat's over here. He's having issues. He's trying to get set up, and I'm cool as a cucumber. It's usually the other way around. Usually I'm flipping out because there's something going on over here.
I was flipping out.
This time it's him. You know what I mean? And it's okay because I know what it's like. So anytime someone is flipping out, I empathize so much with them that I'm just like cool. I'm like, take your time, do your thing. It's okay. We get it. I know what it is. So, but people listening, the bottom line is this: what it takes for us to do this show is not like most other podcasts you listen to. We usually have to schedule at a certain time at a certain day and figure it out. And Christian usually has things going on. I mean, he has 3 children over there, for Christ's sakes. That alone.
Yeah, well, one of them's at school, and one is going. Right. It's going to be a very quiet household next year.
Oh, next year, huh?
Wow, or come September, in like a month and a half. It's going to be very quiet.
Well, when Francesca goes to college, I don't think she has any plans on leaving the house.
From a money factor, it's probably the best. The residence is what fucking kills you. The course loads are not inexpensive, but they're manageable. That's manageable. It's the residence aspect that is the part that's going to kill me.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. Frankie doesn't want to go anywhere. Like, that's the problem. She's so attached to us that she doesn't want to. If Harvard freaking contacted her and said, we're going to give you a free ride, come here, I don't know if she would do it. I don't think she wants to. Oh my God,
I'd make her.
I know, but I don't think she wants to leave. I don't think she wants to leave the state. I don't think she wants to move away from us and be on her own. She never has. I
get that, but over time, maybe that will come into play, or if you're at least in a area that you're able to go visit her and whatever. But I get it. Everybody's a bit different. I think Allie, my oldest, was a little afraid to go initially. And then with the COVID thing or whatever, she took an extra year, and then she didn't end up wanting to go to university. She decided to go to college instead, which is different. I know that you guys, I think it almost becomes one and the same, or maybe I'm wrong, but here, like, it's different levels. Both are post-secondary, but there's sort of, different levels. Like, you can get a university degree, a college diploma, and there's other options as well. So she decided to go that route, and she still lives in Toronto, so she gets to do everything she kind of wanted to do. And it's not like she's that far away. She's within an hour.
Right. No, see, that's great. I don't think she wants to do. I think she may get lucky because she wants to go into, doctoring. You know what I'm saying? She wants to be a forensic pathologist. We have a good school out here. University of Buffalo has
a nice good looking school too. I've been there.
Yeah,
for medicine, and it's actually a really good, nice campus.
Mm-hmm.
That is close to you. That would be awesome.
That's her plan. I think she wants to do 2 years there, and then because they have a medical thing there, they have that you could do with that. Apparently, it's good. So I think she wants to go there and then maybe transfer to another school after. Bottom line is the thing she wants to do. She's going to be at school like 7-8 years or something like that.
Well, yeah, but that's good then. That first 4 years, 3-4 years, whatever it is, or more. In close proximity is not a bad thing, because then she'll be older, and then maybe not mind that she has to go away a little bit, maybe to finish off, possibly, depending on what her options are there at that time. So that's a good way to do it too. There's no real bad way to do it.
No, I mean, as long as you're trying to make something of yourself, and she seems pretty laser focused on it. She's working now. She got a job, and she's addicted to money already. She wanted us to keep working weekends during the school year, and my wife said, no, you're going to have too much work, this and that, don't do it. But she saw her first paycheck, and she's like me. She saw the money, and she's like, oh. And then she went out, she bought something. Yeah. And then she said, I want to buy clothes. And so she's getting a taste of money, and she's like, hey, this changes. But again, like I always told her long before, enjoy what you got now. School is a breeze compared to work. Because now today,
Yeah. And
they're
bills
making her be
and
the,
mortgages and all this shit
oh
that you
yeah,
got to worry
everything.
about afterwards. Like money's great when you don't have expenses.
Well, yeah, but
Money's
work
fantastic.
sucks.
Yeah.
But work sucks compared to school. I keep telling her, enjoy what you have now. Wait until you're out in the working world. And she's
She
already
may love it though. You never
pissed
know. To
off.
each their own. Oh, well, there you go. Then I stand corrected because you just
No,
said she's
because
already.
she doesn't like the mall that she's at. She says it's getting too freaking ghetto, and she doesn't like the clientele and everything else. And then she says that it's also she doesn't like the when they make her do cashier. She loves working upstairs and folding the clothes and she loves doing anything else except dealing with the public. And I get that. That's what I'm
Oh,
saying. I go, now you know. I've
people
been dealing with
suck.
the public for years, and you wonder. Now you know, I said. See, so today she's a little, not happy because today they told her you're a cashier today. So she's on the way to work now, and she's got to be the cashier today, and she does not like it. And I understand, but it didn't take her long. At least she wants the money, wants to keep working, but she doesn't like having to go to work. Well, that's just like me. I don't want to leave the house. I'm convinced I could
Yeah.
never leave the house again and be okay. I have had enough time at home over the last couple of years with different sicknesses and stuff to know that it flies. Like when I'm not at work, the days just escape me. They're gone. It goes so quick. And all the things I thought I was going to have time to do, I still don't have time to do even when I'm not working. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this and I forget. And I want to watch this and I want to watch this and I want to do this and I want to fix this and I want to do this in the basement. I always have all these projects and I always think I'm going to get to them when I have time off. Then I have time off and I still don't get to them. So ultimately, a person like me is just not meant to fucking leave the house and work. It's just not my makeup. It's just not in my DNA, if you will. I don't need any of that shit. Like I don't. I people can come here.
I don't need work. I mean, no, I get it. I mean,
Wow.
I don't know. There are people that do like to work. I don't know. I don't know if I hate it, but if I had a choice, I think I would choose not to work. I think a lot of people would be that way. I mean,
Yeah,
I could fill my days with a
Oh
lot
my
of
God.
stuff. I'm not
They
concerned
escape
about
me.
that. I'm
That's
not
what
a
I'm
concern.
saying.
People are like, "Oh, you're gonna get bored." I'm like, "No,
I'll
not
never
me.
get bored.
I was an only child, man. I entertained myself ad nauseum, day in, day out. That was my life. I had to keep myself like this is why I'm saying nowadays with your iPads and everything else that you've got at your fingertips and how technology's evolved. I'm like, how can anybody even say they're bored anymore?
I don't get it. We have so many things we can watch, unless there are people that don't like to watch things.
Yeah.
Some people have to be on the go. They have to leave the house, or they feel useless or something, or they're wasting away. Like my parents, they go places and shit and everything. Like my
Oh,
father,
see,
every
I'd like to
day
do
goes
that
out.
too, but I'd like
He's
to do that as
85.
well. But I just have a routine. Like if I like,
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be just closeted inside. I'm saying I know you're saying that you could do that.
Oh,
I don't know if I
100%.
could. I don't know if I could.
I could go in the backyard in the summertime like I do now and walk around and hang out and have a cup of coffee in the backyard and,
Yeah.
bring a cat
Okay.
out with me and chill the fuck out. I could do this. I can go on the treadmill. That takes an hour plus the shower after and the stretching. That's an hour and a half and everything. There goes the day. I could play with the cats for like an hour or two. I can watch movies for
There goes the day.
for
He's been on the
5, 6
treadmill for an
hours.
hour. There goes the
No, I'm
day.
saying if you
I
add
know.
everything I've set up, all of a sudden, let's
I
just say
hear you.
I only watch 2 movies. Let's just say I only watch 2 movies. That's probably 4 hours. And then you're talking about having breakfast, having lunch, having dinner, eating. You know what I'm saying? And then you take a shower. You freaking you do things. The day does go by fast. Like for me, every time I'm not at work and I have time off, like a stay vacation, a stay home vacation, I can't believe I look up and it's freaking 1 a.m. and I'm like, what the fuck? It feels like it's 8. The day just got away from me. And this is what happens to me. I know I don't have to go anywhere. Here's where I want to go. I want to go see fish shows when I can. Where else do I want to go? I mean, I like to see my friends. I mean, I could maybe go out to a bar once a week if there's a get together or a card game, which never happens. But maybe once a month I could leave the house just to catch up with some people or whatever. But I really don't have a desire to do much of that stuff at all. I am just 100% content with always being home. And the thing is this. Now I could fucking catch a buzz. I could smoke weed all day long. It's fucking wonderful. If nobody's here, I'm saying, I'm happy that way. Yeah. I sleep well. Dude, when I smoke weed, I can't tell you how much fucking better the sleep is than when I don't.
I don't disagree with you there, but I got a nose issue. So like the weed helps to a certain degree, but then I usually get congested and like I have to get like surgery for it. It's
with flower, yeah. If you're smoking flower, yes, I don't do that anymore. I vape now. So if you vape or edible, it's a completely different thing. And it does do good, and you do sleep well. And the best thing about vaping is you could do it anytime. I have that vape pen with me constantly. Like I could be sitting here with my wife and my daughter, but I'm not going to do it in front of them. But if one of them gets up to go to the bathroom, yeah. If my daughter goes to the bathroom, I pull it out. I inhale, I exhale, it doesn't smell like anything. It's not like smoking a bowl or a fucking, you could do this anywhere it's so much better having the vape or having edibles. You know what I mean? It's so much better. But the day, ultimately, it just gets away from me when people say, when you got nothing to do, the time moves slow. Not for me. When I have stuff to do, the time moves slow because I don't want to be doing those things. So that's what I'm saying. If you're doing something you don't want to do, don't you think that it's going to move slower as opposed to when you're doing, what about time flies when you're having fun? So it's contradictory. When I'm watching movies all day, I'm having fun and time will fly. Now, but if I have to go to work, 8 hours is going to seem like 16 hours because I don't want to fucking do it. So that's what it comes down to with me. I really have no desire. I could be home for eternity and just, go to a few places, some concerts, if you will. I love the sun. If I lived in Vegas or back there, it'd be different. But,
Oh, that's where I differ. Sometimes I could be outside. Today's a beautiful day, no humidity whatsoever.
Oh, it's great. I'll go in the backyard.
But I don't have to be outside. I'm also always been like that where it could be the most beautiful day ever and I'll appreciate it, but I don't have to be out there enjoying it. I could easily be inside doing my own thing, whether it be editing or whatever it may be. So I have no problem. So I'll always find things to do, but I like working from home. I agree with you because your kids will go to school and before you know it, you're like, I'm working from home. I'm like, what the fuck? I got to go pick them up from school. Just being home, the day flies by faster.
See, I
agree.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it 100% does. It's fucking, you're in your comfort level. You're not miserable. And here's what I would do. If I didn't have to work and I could be home all the time, this is when I would take this podcast. And this is when I would learn how to do proper YouTube videos. I would learn how to edit. I would make the best produced fucking things I could make. And then we would have 6 million views per episode. That's what I would do. I would focus that would be work for me.
Is this like an anti-dead meat segment?
Wait, how did you know about it? Did I send you that?
It was in the group chat. You're
chatting
with JP and company about.
And I'm not anti.
Yeah.
I mean, JP was because he doesn't like the guy apparently or something. He's not a guy. He says, well, he knows this. Either way, I just look at these numbers from these podcasts. I'm like, if someone's getting 6 million people to listen to their podcast and we can't even get 6,000, are they really 100 fucking times better than us? Could that possibly be?
Am I wrong in thinking? No. But I don't. There's podcasts which some people like shorter or longer form, and we know that just from doing it for so long. But are they podcast? I know they have a podcast segment, but I think his segments are on YouTube are like 10-20 minute things. Am I not wrong? Am I wrong with that?
I think you're right about that.
I think his Dead Meat show is short, which people will consume. I mean, that just goes without saying. It's shorter than a TV show. It's accessible on whatever tablet or phone you've got, and boom, you can see it, and it's easily consumable and digestible.
So we're doing this all wrong.
They have a podcast version of it, and if you look at that, the listens or views are significantly less than our show. If you actually look at that, because YouTube now has a whole thing that they made to make it easier for podcasts. I have never used it because I've just been, maybe I'm just handcuffed to the way that I've done it. And I wasn't looking beyond or future proofing it, but it doesn't seem like it gives you any more or any added benefit. So I've just been uploading them as a video. It's in our chain, done. But our shows are long, and not everybody's willing to watch a show that's 2 to 3 hours long or longer, or listen to a podcast that's not. And then we've heard there are people that absolutely love that about the show and about whatever. So again, you can't win. Remember when I first started, I said, Dave, I listened to your Banana Laser and Skeleton Crew because I listened to one of each. I said, I like it, but I do not want to do long form. Remember that? You're like, no, that's what we're doing. Right. That was your whole idea. You want to do long form.
People love it.
And I said, oh, no one's going to listen. In my mind, I'm like, no one's going to fucking listen to this. It's got to be short. And I was wrong. And people did listen to it. But just like any audience,
yes and no.
You're going to be divided. So there's going to be the side that wants that in, out, and done.
So what you're saying is this. This is what we should do with this podcast.
It's re-edited to short versions.
Well, yeah. Well, no, check it though. When the show comes out, this is show 213. So a year from now, when it comes out, instead of coming out as 213, it should come out as, you should chop it up. Here's a 30-minute review of fucking House of Dracula. Yeah. And here's the video of us talking for 30 minutes. And here's a 30-minute review of Hellraiser Judgment. Boom, absolutely. And put those out there. And you think that if they were short form videos of us doing what we're doing now, but instead of being a 2.5 hour fucking extravaganza with BS like we're doing now and everything else, it's just those reviews. You think that there's more consumption available that
there's
way.
More to it than that, but yes, I think there would be more consumption. Like, and again, the simplicity thing is it's literally a switch of like from private or unlisted to public. So it's very easy to do this. There's no re-editing involved. Doing it your way means that there will have to go in and then you have to do it. So
too much work.
Well, it's not. It's just more work. It's not too much work.
Right. It's more work for you.
So then you've got to go in and then and I would say, yeah, you're taking like what would essentially be a 2.5 hour show and bringing it down to like 30 to 45 minutes tops. And 45 might be too long for some people. 30 minutes might be too long for some people. So then the other way to do it is you try to get and do what we're doing with the reels right now, which is I'm not even taking a chunk of the show. I'm actually taking a chunk of the movie and putting our show there and referencing the fact that it's available as an episode. And it seems to be working a little bit, but we can do that. And you could do YouTube Shorts, you could do Facebook or Instagram Reels or TikToks, and you can do it that way and give like a minute to a minute and a half chop up and try to promote that way. That's probably the way to do it since we already have the content, and then we push them towards the full episodes. But then there is another argument that you can use and recreate everything from episode 1 on, which would be a daunting task, and bringing it down to like this sort of like super edited half hour, 45-minute version, which I think would be next to impossible for something that was that long.
That's true.
I don't think you can make it make sense and cut it down to that short of a show. It'd be like Brandon Don't Breathe, and the topic would change every sentence.
Brandon Don't Breathe. Yep. I feel you. That's just it. It's just like you don't know until you start looking around and seeing what other people have done. Just like when I started podcasting, I had no idea about this YouTube thing. Like I know it sounds weird to some people, like friends of ours, you know what I mean? Because they came up on that. But like when we started talking to those guys, like JP and everybody, 22 Shots crew and friends of theirs that we met and they're all about this YouTube thing. And they were talking about this whole YouTuber and this, and I never heard of any of these people. I never knew that this world existed on YouTube. And I know some people are like, I'm surprised you didn't realize that people were reviewing horror movies on YouTube. I didn't. I did not know. The first thing I ever heard about horror reviews was a podcast in 2012 when Alex turned me on to Skeleton Crew. And I listened. I said, awesome. I love this. I had no idea. Now, I don't know when the YouTube thing got really big with people doing horror movie reviews there as well. But because of that, then I got involved in podcasting. Had I have met a YouTuber first, maybe everything could have been completely different. And maybe by now, we would have had some
But you
crazy
could,
YouTube
it
phenomenon.
never, it's never too late, because Day Meat started after our show and gained a following real quick.
I know,
Now,
dude. All
so
these
then,
shows.
so the reality would be that we've got the content, so it's either re-edit or you just branch off, meaning that we have a YouTube component that is no different than, let's say, we do a 20-minute segment live, like with Jason Smith. He does all these shows like that, long form, short or
That'd
long
be
form,
fun.
and he goes direct to YouTube. And then you've got that live feed that they can come in and they can comment on and whatever. It's great. You have to set it up on my end, because you got to get the recorder done, and then it's no different than what we're doing right now, but it's going live to YouTube. And then once you gain that, like, get that momentum going, people can follow the show that way. So it could be like,
Yeah.
EEH shorts or whatever.
If we ever had time,
It's
if
like
we
a
only
20
had the
to
time.
a half an hour segment that you can then redirect them to see the full show, or to see our show, then go back, whatever. But
I
there's
wish we had
plenty
the
of ways to do
time.
it.
Just one day for 20, 30 minutes, you and I do a Facebook live video like that and do that. Think of a topic to talk about, or talk about what's going on with the show and what we're doing. And if you're missing the show, this is what we do, etc. Maybe
we
that'd be
can
the
do
way
it.
to
We
go,
just
but
have to
then we got to
plan it.
make time, and that's
Have to
more work for
plan it.
you.
That's not really more work for me, because when you do it, there's no editing. You literally just hit record, as we're doing now, and this is going out to the crew, and the crowd. So they just join. You just say, "Hey guys, we're going to be going our YouTube live here," and then we could redirect it. So maybe once a month we start doing that.
That'd be cool. Now, do you just drop it out of nowhere? Just, let's say you and I decided to do it right this second. We would go on YouTube and start it, and that's it. And like somehow people are going to be notified that there's a live video out there. Like
They will be notified that Exploding Heads is kind of live, like Facebook. But I believe
okay.
until you get, like, we'd have our 1,200 listeners be notified or whatever that are on that. But we can also direct from our Facebook page that has almost 200,000 people, or our Facebook group, or whatever groups. So the patrons and everybody could go, and it could feed in, so that you let them know that we're going to be going live in and around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this so-and-so day. And you
Here's
go.
the thing.
What is the thing?
I subscribe to Jason Smith thing, and I never get notifications when he goes live. I know I subscribe to his channel.
Yeah, you know what? You might be right.
Yeah.
You might be right on that, because but I do know that when I've been on the show, which has been twice, that people are right there waiting. They know, and they
I guess we got to ask him.
Yeah.
We'll have to ask Jason how he does it.
Maybe he could finally come on the show, that prick.
Maybe he will for that.
We should have asked him today,
anymore,
because it went later.
I know, you're right. We could talk to him. He's awfully busy. Making lots of videos. He's with his are they married yet?
I don't know if they're I don't know if they've officially gotten married. They're engaged, but I can't remember if they got married or not. I feel like they did.
Well, yeah, I don't know. They're together all the time. I know that. He doesn't exist without her anymore on videos. It's always the two of them, I think. I could be wrong. I haven't watched every video. Just that usually when I go on, it's the two of them. So I'm like, well, I mean, I'm happy for him, but we don't see him anymore, or we don't. It's
essentially dog walking, but with both of us together, and we're not walking dogs.
Oh, okay. What are we doing? Eating dogs?
Yeah,
hot dogs?
that's what we're doing.
Talking about.
We're having Chinese
what
buffet.
I want to do, dude? I thought about this. Something else I would do if I didn't have to work.
Porn?
There are so many great pizza places in Buffalo. And when I tell you there's so many, there are probably 200. How cool would it be? Because people love these food things. If I got a slice of pizza at every pizza place in Buffalo and talked about the pizza and reviewed it or whatever. Don't you think that'd be cool? If
this week's episode sponsored by El Guapos.
Whatever it is, go around Buffalo, go to every pizzeria in Buffalo and sample a slice and then talk about it. People love those food tasting podcasts. They travel around the world. I mean, I would just travel Buffalo, but that's what I'm saying.
Are we going to incorporate that into the horror podcast element, or have it totally separate?
Well, everything I would do, it would only make sense to be on this channel. Who you think I'm going to start a channel from the ground up? Who's going to watch that? Me talking about food. I mean, I don't know. It's not going to happen anyway because I can't do it because who has the time? But this is what I would do if I didn't have to work. I want to make $20K a month and freaking like that, like JP said about Dead Meat. That I'm like, well, okay, that's my dream. Let me talk about horror and get paid.
They did they did a year end. I did, to be honest, I watched like 5 minutes of it, but it was very well produced. It had now it had probably one of them dressed up in the Scream get up, but it had the dude that does the voice narrating it for the introduction. Right, so they got that guy to come in to do the introduction, kind of like what, like, you know, Rebecca has these ties, and anybody that goes to these horror conventions probably get the ties, and then they ask them, you know, whether it be for a fee or whether it be for free to do these little things, and then they do these little introductions. So they did their own, like, you know, our top show of the year. Mm-hmm. Well, they did it, but with like as if it was had more budget than the Chainsaw Awards, kind of like. Maybe I'm exaggerating a bit. Like, it had a nice introduction. It had this guy from the Scream voice, and the multi-camera angles of him pretending to be talking to the screen, even though it was, like I said, it was probably just them. And then the guy narrated it. And then supposedly Matthew Lillard came in for a guest appearance. I didn't get to that part, but someone in the comments said, I can't believe you got Matthew Lillard. Oh, how this channel's come so far in such a short time. So where I'm going with it is, they've ended up putting money into the show as well.
Of course, why would you not?
Well, exactly. That's the other thing. Like they've actually did it to improve the show, which is always what you want to do. It wouldn't just be two schlubs sitting here in the rooms constantly. But there is that aspect of it too. But then the year-end show might be something bigger and better.
If we had money, if we made money on the show that way.
But this is, you know, this is money. Like this is not like
even like let's say JP is right and they make $20K a month. Okay, let's what's freaking giving up 2,000 out of $20K a month to better the show? It's nothing. It's well worth it. It's like, and here's how you would hook up with Matthew Lillard and the freaking Roger Jackson. You would go to a convention. You'd wait in line to get an autograph and a picture, and you get up there and you talk to them and say, hey, I have this podcast. Can my people get with your people? You know what I'm saying? Would you consider, no, seriously, would you consider doing something, you know?
Could we have Ram Man call you and schedule your appointment? Like we just
they probably make $1,000 or $2,000.
We got Ram Man and Rocky Roads going out canvassing for us, and so if you hear from them that they're on behalf of Exploding Heads, and we'd love to have you on the show. Like, we're too big to actually talk to these people. Like now.
Well, I didn't mean it that way. I meant
get our people. We'll have our people.
Not our people. I meant, can we talk to your people? Because they're not going to do it themselves. Matthew Lillard's not going to say, okay, 1 minute, $1,000. They're not going. There has to be a discussion, negotiation, what you will. But I shouldn't have said have our people talk to your people. I should have said, can we? Imagine that though. Yeah. I wish we could have people on the payroll.
JP, get Matthew Lillard on the show.
JP would never do it.
Fuck 22. Get fucking Matthew Lillard on the show ASAP.
Well, JP and Moods already could be doing what Dead Meat is doing, since they have all this freaking
Moods
podcast.
Has a huge following. No?
That's what I'm saying. Moods already has a huge following. JP has a following. So it's like, and Parker. Imagine if those three got together. See, guys, if you're listening,
they did get together. They have a show called 22 Shots to get together.
Okay,
they're together.
But I get that they're together, but do something, combined all that stuff, do something like Dead Meat's doing, but them. That's all I'm trying to say. Invest a tiny bit into it, because they have good personalities. They're good at what they do. They know their shit.
It's not go crazy.
Why would you? I would much rather watch that than, just some guy talking about. I don't know how good Dead Meat is. I'm just saying I have a good feeling that 22 Shots no more and are going to be more entertaining. That's just me, but I don't think it's just me. I think people.
No, I think they have a listenership, including us, that would agree. Right. It's just, and it's funny because they all do have followings. You're absolutely right. So it's
what are they waiting for?
Interesting. Well, I don't know. I mean, Moods, they do get a lot of views on their YouTube thing for the show. Maybe they're happy.
Yeah, but they're not. You don't think they want 6 million views? Of course they do. That's what I'm saying. I think between the three of them, they could get it together. I really do. They could even do it from the same place. They could fly. Well, when things start going better, they could fly to Mood's house and do it right in his basement. All three of them in the
Fly
same
to
room.
Moods. Why do they have to go to Moods? Why can't Moods give to them?
Because I figure Mood's has a bigger place than they do.
He's out in the bush.
Yeah, but he actually has a house. I know that. I don't know where JP lives, but I know. I don't know. These guys have roommates, I think, and they live with other people. Where
don't know
Moods
where
actually has a home, and we know how big it is because
In
we
the
can see
sewers.
what's in his basement.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We could, or if it's even his basement, we know that he has a lot of space because look at how many things he has on display. So it would be so easy for them just to do it there.
They could put like a JP barely takes any space up, so you could just be stuffed in a corner.
You could put them
The
on
better
anything.
part of
Yeah,
the
you could
year.
put-
Yeah.
yeah, you could put them on a beanbag. Here you go.
He'd be
You
like
could be sitting
Daniel.
on a-
He'll be like Daniel in the last episode. Like he'll be Mood's
Daniel?
little assistant. Yeah, the Igor of
LaRussa?
yeah, Daniel LaRusso. Yeah.
Well, what Daniel you talking about?
Daniel from the Igor from the last show we were talking about.
Oh, I know. I already forgot the name Daniel. Okay.
Because it's
He'd be
such a
like
dumb
Daniel.
name for an Igor.
I know.
What's your
It's-
name, Daniel? Like, what? Like
Right.
Daniel.
Daniel. Yeah, that is weird. I don't know. It's
I've watched
Yeah.
all the movies, so that's 4 movies rolling around in my head. It's going to be. I think I'm going to be able to separate them quite nicely, but then I screwed up because I thought it was Abbott Costello. I'm like, no, wait, I got to watch House of Dracula for
Correct.
today's show, and then Abbott Costello. So thank God, but I've watched all 4 movies because I wanted to make sure I had them done ahead of time.
Abbott and Costello. They meet
Yeah.
Frankenstein. Is that the title of the movie? I
Yeah.
should know this. I've seen it before. I know. Okay. Because I believe
They
they
meet
meet
everybody.
everybody.
Yeah, they meet everybody.
Right.
It's just
but
like
it's
this.
called
Like
Frankenstein.
the last 3 movies, it's been like
Right.
a mashup. Like it's like
Frankenstein's a name.
they
That's it.
they're talking about not being able to do a Freddy versus Jason. It took what, like 17 scripts to get to what we got, and they couldn't come up with a follow-up, even though that was super successful. Every one of these Frankenstein movies, from Frankenstein meets to Wolfman, has been mashup movies.
Oh, you're right.
All of them. Like the last 4. So it was Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. What am I forgetting? The Ghost of Frankenstein. No, wait. House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, and Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. So 4 of them. 4 of them are mashup movies.
Correct. Well, the whole thing is out of control. If you look at the box set,
Yeah.
the box set of the Universal, half of the movies are on half of the freaking disc. Like this one, and then if you are Dracula or the Wolfman collection, these are on the same damn thing because Dracula and the Wolfman are in these movies.
Yeah, I know.
So
It's like, did you just see that Friday the 13th is releasing? Did you see that post? I got it from the Friday the 13th franchise site. So they're releasing
another
the
one.
4K version that we've got in the blue, in the steelbook set that already exists, but it's going to say 4K on it with a leaf cover or a cover.
Maple Leaf.
Yeah, a maple leaf cover. Yeah,
It's a Canadian release.
a sleeve is what I meant. That
Oh,
has that
okay.
eyeball art from the LP.
Weird. That's where I saw that before. And I don't get that eyeball whatsoever. What does an eyeball have to do with Friday the 13th? Nothing. Not one thing. There could be a picture of a top hat. It would make just as much sense. Seriously. Why would there be an eyeball?
It's a scared eye.
A scared eye. I just don't. It's so
Another
freaking.
Friday the
What's the
13th.
word?
Oh,
I'm not gonna buy it because I don't like the eyeball. How's that? I'm standing up. I don't like that eyeball.
I don't like
It doesn't
that.
make sense.
I actually do
And
like the eyeball.
It's so generic. You could take any horror movie and put an eyeball. That eyeball should be get the F out of here. That should be Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you're gonna have a close up of an eyeball,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Bloody
Deserves it.
Black Christmas, Saw
Headless
even.
Eyes,
Just for
Well,
that one
fine.
scene.
any
You're right.
Fulci movie,
Texas
anything with an
Chainsaw makes way
eye.
more sense.
100%. So that's a ripoff. They're not getting my money. I'll tell you right now. I am standing up. If I don't like that,
I
it
love
doesn't
it.
make any sense. I collect them all like you do, but sometimes something's gonna show itself, and I'm gonna be like, no, I'm not getting that. I'm not doing it. I'm not getting an eyeball to represent Friday the 13th. It's stupid. The only eyeball I could accept would be if the cover was that old man and it was part 3 and he was holding it up. I have warned thee. That
Yeah.
would be okay.
I have warned thee. Why can't I remembered his name when I was doing the reels, when I was doing everything. The second you said the guy, the bum in part 3, what was his name again?
Yeah, I don't know, whatever name they gave him, but no one called him a name in the movie.
No, I know Abel. Abel.
That's Abel. That is that is Abel. Yep. I have warned this. Part 3 would work if it was the eyeball with him holding it up, looking like a piece of chewed gum. Then we could do it.
Maybe this is Rick's eye. But this is part 1, so it doesn't make sense.
Part 3 again. Part 3 is all about eyes.
Rick's eye and Paul's balls.
Well, Paul's balls is the final chapter.
I know. I'm just.
Who's that guy?
We got to do our thing. So this is number 3 of the Fright Flicks cards. It's Bub. It goes, and then of course the little funny quib at the front is, "Gotta quit this nail biting habit." Waka 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 waka.
No, wait, that's a good one actually.
Did it ever happen? We got to get into this, but I got to get these.
Did it ever happen?
Yeah, remember no.
Oh yeah, that's right. Did he bite his nails?
This fucking guy. So obviously that's Day of the Dead. Card number 3. Seconds before the thief could murder Jack Hume, a third person entered the Brooklyn alley. The lightning struck the thief, stunning him. Hume looked for his rescuer to thank him, but he had vanished into the night. I have no clue what they're talking about here. And sorry, I couldn't read it. I couldn't read it because it was like in the shadow of this fucking light. So I put my head in front of the light that's above me. Then I'm like, I can't read this even with my glasses. But if I just...
Can you try that one more time? Because that to me was gibberish.
Yeah.
So let's see. Get this
guy's
here. Name.
I'm actually going to turn
slowly
into the light this time. Okay. Seconds before the thief could murder Jack Hume, a third person entered the Brooklyn alley. The stranger raised his hand and a bolt of lightning struck the thief, stunning him. Hume looked for his rescuer to thank him, but he had vanished into the night.
Oh, did it ever happen? I believe that somebody claimed it happened, but it didn't happen. The guy was on drugs.
But what is this from? What would that be from? That's what I don't understand. Yeah.
That's why I said, did it ever happen? They're saying that somebody in life said that this happened to them. And I'm going to call bullshit. Because really, someone is going to intervene over a penny ante robbery in an alley when there's kids getting freaking molested. They're gonna intervene on you. A $10 robbery.
This is like that whole thing they're talking about God's intervention, right? Like when I think Rebecca just posted about this too, saying like, someone commenting on how God was really looking out for me that day when,
people do that.
I didn't get stuck in the rain. And she made some comment. Meanwhile, the kid down the street's getting molested. So, I don't know. I'm not laughing at that. I'm just saying, I get it though. Like you're thinking God looked out for you because you weren't stuck in the rain, but not for poor little Jimmy down the street.
It's like anything. And it's the saints. Sometimes something happens and they say that's good karma. That's why that happened. So whether you're saying it's divine intervention or it's good karma or it's energy in the world or it's witchcraft, whatever it is, everybody's got something that they want to say, they want to give a reason to when something really good happens to them. They're like, oh, wow, someone's looking out for me, whether it be a religious icon or not. There's always something. So that's just one way it happens. But everybody else does it too. They just don't necessarily say it's Jesus Christ or it's, it's God or anything. They say, well, I put good energy out in the world. Talk to anybody that's into that stuff. People love to do that. But hey, the way I look at it, as long as somebody's not preaching, then I'm okay with their belief. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
I don't get those did it ever happen? Because you're right. Like I looked it up as you were talking there too. There's no Jack Hume, Brooklyn alley, nothing shows up. So it's not even saying it's a scene from a movie. Maybe it's got to be a scene from a movie or something, but I don't know where they get these things from because they just seem
find out.
They seem so stupid to put them. I guess it is supposed to be like a Ripley's Believe It or Not, but you'd
We
figure
should
they'd
do it.
have better. We should do it. Did it
You
ever
can just
happen?
make up shit.
Yeah.
Did it ever happen? A guy walks into a 7-Eleven and a dog comes at him, and all of a sudden the dog doubled in size, and another person came at it, and a regular sized cat all of a sudden jumped from behind the counter and chased the dog, and the dog ran out. Did it ever happen? See how easy that was?
Yeah, it didn't though. It didn't happen.
Of course not. None of it happened.
I know.
Well, we could put it on a card and sell it. Just put something else on the front.
I don't know if that's the reason people bought those cards. I wonder what this week's Did It Ever Happen is. I can't wait to get to it.
Well, instead of putting anything,
this could have happened.
it's an easy way out, which is all I'm all about, the easy way out. So it's like, check it. I mean, instead of putting something factual on there or doing any actual research, we could sit here right now and just come up with random things.
Yeah.
Did this ever happen? A guy played Atari 2600 and lightning struck the antenna and it went down and it went through the system. And then when it came out, his 2600 was able to play Atari 5400 games. Did it ever happen?
Did it ever happen? I forgot there was a 5400.
And
the graphics look just as shitty.
Wow. No, the graphics are better than the gameplay.
Of course. But I always think like this. Like my dad wouldn't get me an Atari because he said the graphics were so horrible that he couldn't justify buying it. So that's why I got a ColecoVision. And then we had the Atom computer. I think I mentioned that on the show too. Probably the only one on the show. Did anybody else have an Atom computer?
I'm sure they did.
Let us know.
Someone's going to say they did. What else?
BC Quest for Tires.
About the Coleco. Did you know there was that adapter you plugged into the Coleco and you could play Atari 2600 games?
I think I remember that. I do remember I had the ball one that you use for like one game. You get the ball
like
and you
Missile
can get
Command or
you
some
can get
shit.
I think mine was Centipede. Centipede, you can't run away.
Awesome. I got to listen to that. If I go swimming later, I'm playing that on the way to to my mother's house. It's a summertime.
It's gonna be a Pac-Man fever sort of afternoon.
It's a thing. It's nostalgic for me, that album now because of that. Well, I'm gonna play something, by the way. I've been trying to play this for the longest time. I finally found it again. This says Macho Man interrupts Ric Flair, but there's a reason I'm playing this.
We don't hear it.
You're talking on my time. Not only that, am I the universal heartthrob, the big snow stopper, and the cock of the walk? It's power, pal.
See?
I'm not only.
See, even Macho Man says cock of the walk.
Yeah. Not anymore. He doesn't.
Oh.
Oh.
Still, one more person termed that phrase that somehow you and B went your whole lives without hearing, which I can't. I can't wrap my head around.
What is more baffling, that we never heard the term "cock of the walk" or that you haven't watched Die Hard?
Well, I didn't watch Die Hard intentionally.
Listeners, weigh in.
Yeah, but mine is an intentional choice. Yours, you guys are just going through lives, and your lives, and I can't believe you don't come across cock of the walk.
Well, I can't believe you didn't come across Imagine Dragons. Like, I can't believe it.
Well, it's nowadays.
The biggest band in the world. I get it. Like, you can say that about a lot of things. I mean, this is a fairly popular saying, it looks like, but just not one that I had come across for whatever reason. But I still cannot. In fact, Chris Haygate's sent me stuff. Said, I want to send this to Dave. I said, send it. He goes, I don't want to get him in trouble or riled up or whatever. But he was talking about how Imagine Dragons was so popular. He's like, I still can't believe Dave thought this was something on ice and had no clue who they were.
Well, I still haven't heard, since you guys told me about Imagine Dragons, I still have not seen or heard about them anywhere. It's never come up in any conversation. I've never seen it online. I've never seen it anyway. I don't watch TV, so you can't say that. But still, I still have not seen them. It's like an entity that somehow continues to escape. Imagine Dragons. I don't see it anywhere. or hear about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
When did I discover this Imagine Dragons from you guys? Like, I don't know, 6 months ago, 8 months, whatever.
Oh, it was
it
a
is, the
year
bottom
ago
line-
because that's when the
Okay.
kids went to the concert.
A year later, if we never had that conversation, I still would not have heard of it. So you tell me.
But that's
I don't get it.
baffling. That's baffling. I mean,
But
it's
I'm
just,
not.
yeah, again, I
I
mean, I
guess.
know, but I think it's because people do get the misconception that you're up on pop culture. And because I
don't wanna
came
be
up in
at all.
conversation or in the
Yeah,
chat.
JP said that.
Yeah.
I'm the last guy that knows pop culture.
Yeah, but I feel like because of the reference you've made to commercials of, well, yesteryear, what people have got to
Well,
realize is no, you just love the 80s.
Oh, I just
That's
love
it.
childhood. It was a better time. And I actually I had no choice when I was young to know what's in pop culture because all you had was click, turn on your television, and you only give what they give you. Now we have the luxury to only see what the hell we want to see. We live in a great time for that reason only. That is the one real positive thing about 2023 is the ability to see whatever we want to see, and more importantly, not see the things that we don't want to see. Just like
Yeah.
social media. Social media doesn't really, it's an imaginary world. If you never went on social media and didn't have it, it doesn't exist. I'd be living the same way I lived in the 80s. Even more so.
Well-
But think about it. Nobody says you have to know this stuff. Nobody says you have to be on social media and have to watch your television in the news and the commercials. But apparently, everybody is just so used to this lifestyle that they don't even question or think about it. Where I spend my time thinking about it, pondering, if you will, saying, what can I do to have my existence on this planet as most pleasurable as I can be given my current situation? This is what I want to do. Instead of just, I agree that it's better just to go with the flow and everything else. That's fine because you don't want to cause ripples and it doesn't get you anywhere. And yeah, go with the flow is fine. It's a mellow state of mind, but at the same time, I'm not interested in that flow. I'll go with the flow of something else, but I don't care about Imagine Dragons or Barbie or anything anybody's talking about online.
Yeah, but
I have no interest in.
But I mean, again, I had no interest in seeing
Boring.
Barbie, but I don't really care that people want to go see it or
What
whatever
do
as
I
well.
care? Oh, it's their business. It's just
Yeah, like
I'm not going to talk about it now.
yeah,
It's
well,
like
I mean,
get some new material. Everybody's got to talk about the same shit all the time. To me, God, I'd rather poke my eyes out and my freaking eardrums out than have to see the same stuff day after day after day. And here I am talking about Friday the 13th.
well, but that's exactly
I'm
it.
an
This is,
asshole.
that's what I'm saying. We do it with horror. We do it for
We
Friday the
do.
13th specifically, but we do it with horror. People are like, hey, let's talk about something other than horror, other than listeners of the show. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's what we like it. That's what we're talking about. That's what we want to talk
yeah,
about.
I care
But I
about
mean, I don't care if someone wants to go see Barbie. We're talking about this at the
What
brunch
do I
tonight
care?
because my wife was like this, or my mom said to my wife, "Oh, are you wanting to see Barbie?" And Carrie's like, "No, because people are wanting to see this left, right, and center, and whatever." And I like Margot Robbie or Robbie
She's
Margot.
hot.
Yeah, like she's the perfect Barbie. But I'm just saying, but I'll, when it comes out on Netflix, yeah, I'll watch it. But I'm
Maybe, yeah.
not running out. I had no interest to see it. I'm actually surprised it's gained so much like popularity with the demographic that it has. But that's the great thing about it is it's one of those magical things that everybody probably experienced in their lifetime. Again, typical if you're female, but I think nowadays either way. So I mean, every demographic, every age group, every demographic, and it's not. I'm not anti anything. It's just not interested.
What do I care?
Yeah, I don't care, but I'm not
Okay.
anti anything. I'm not. It's just I don't feel like I need to go see it. Like,
The only thing I'm
it's like a
anti
lot of
from a
movies.
person, I'm anti hearing the same shit all the time. That's me. That's my thing. If I was to go on social media, and we've had this discussion before, everything's got to be about this. I've unfollowed so many people. I barely see the feed now. I stick to the groups, as you know, but sometimes I see a little bit of the feed, but it's like, it's the same stuff constantly. Everybody's got the same things on the tip of their tongue. And I get it. It's a hot button topic. People want to talk about what's recent. For whatever, I don't know what it is about me, but I get real bored of shit real quick, unless it's something that I'm interested in. And this is why I was a D student in school, because I had an A in English because I loved English because they're talking about stories and writing and shit that I'm into. And I had a fucking D or an F and everything else because I didn't give a fuck about science or social studies or math. I didn't care. So therefore, I'm not giving it my attention. Is it the way to be? No, because ultimately, you know, I didn't get good grades as a result, but I couldn't help. That's just me. If something doesn't interest me, I check out. And that's what happens. And here's how messed up I am. I thought that this Barbie movie came and went already because I remember like 5 months ago, there was all these Barbie memes coming out online. So I thought they were coming out because a movie was out. So I thought that this movie came. It was somewhat of a flop because I didn't hear anything else about it. And then it's time had, because dude, legit, that happens to me. A movie will pop up on my MB. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember seeing this trailer at the movie for it, you know, because it's like a non-horror movie. And I'm like, oh, this movie is just coming out now? I thought this movie already came. It's just, I just don't pay attention, so I don't even know. I just do not know. Like, I don't know. I don't pay attention. Just like I don't pay attention to Oscar season. Like that movie, The Whale. I didn't know anything about it. And then one day it dropped on fucking my MB, and I heard a few people talking about it. But when it came to the theater, I don't think I heard anybody on the show.
I saw it in the theater with my wife, and I think I brought it up. But I didn't go into too much detail.
What I remember.
Yeah. I went in. I said, a great movie. Pretty much one single location, and he gives a performance that makes the movie. I'm pretty sure that was like pretty much.
Well,
what
I brought it up when I saw it, and then I think maybe you reiterated. But I think you saw it at the movies, right? You saw it,
I saw it in the theater.
Out? Yeah, right. I saw it when it dropped at home. Now I don't know when exactly that was compared to its wide release, but
well, that's it. Nowadays, it doesn't take very long because it came out. I feel like it was before Christmas, and I watched. Yeah, we went to the theater to see it, and and like everything now, it seems like it's 3 months. Within 3 months, it's already streaming, or sooner, for that matter. Hey, did you hear? Now, whether or not you care about this or not, it is interesting. Did you hear that Disney might be for sale, or is that just rumorville? Or they're I guess had too many flops in a row now, and there's a rumbling that Apple might buy them.
I saw last week somewhere somebody saying the guy that owns Disney, which I forgot his name, but someone put a guy's name there and said apparently is taking offers for something. And then I just left it at that and said, I don't give a fuck who owns it. So whatever. And I just kept going. You know, I didn't know that. Whatever. Whatever. Let it happen. What do I care? Disney. Here's the thing. You're just talking about movies. You're not talking about the fucking the theme park.
I don't know how that works. I think it encompasses. It may. I don't know if you buy Disney, if it's everything that's underneath that umbrella. I would assume so, but I don't know if the deal might be like separated. Again, I don't know the ins and outs, but I would assume it's the parent company, and you would get everything that falls under said company, including Disney Plus streaming, including the theme parks and everything. But
what do I care who owns Disney? I just don't give a shit. You could own fucking Disney for all I care. My next door neighbor could. Pee Wee Herman could own Disney. What do I care? I'm either going to watch the movies or I'm not.
It
makes no difference in my daily life. Why do people care?
I'll tell you that if I owned Disney, I wouldn't be doing the show next week. I'm just telling you that right now. Like, just as a heads up, if I somehow Disney fell into my lap, you know, like, hey, who needs Disney? Let's look at the Christian Luciani. Who? TGIF 13 co-host on Exploding Heads. Who? Give him Disney.
You own Disney. You're the owner of Disney.
Throw him a bone.
Well, what do I care?
Disney.
It's the same. It's the same stuff they've been putting out for years. Now they have Marvel. Now they have Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's the same shit. I don't get excited. I mean, I do like some of the Star Wars stuff. Don't get me wrong. I've liked actually all of it. There's one thing I didn't watch Andor or whatever the F it is. And I didn't watch some other new thing that came out because it's just too much now. They're overkilling that. Like everything gets over. But granted, a lot of it's good, so it's not so bad. But overkill is what ruins everything. Yep. And people don't understand that. People don't understand that. They just want to consume the same thing over and over again. And 3 times a week. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, like, overkill is the worst thing. When something is great, part of the reason it's great is because it's special. because you don't see it every day. Now you can't eat steak 7 days a week. You just
No.
can't. Then it's not steak anymore. Then it's not special. Then steak becomes hamburger. Like seriously, it's people don't. I don't.
The
The same
steak's
thing
not a
happened with
steak.
this is what happened with wrestling. Wrestling was great. We were watching it when we were kids. We only saw the champion sometimes. We only saw big matches sometimes. Everything was a big deal because it didn't happen. There was one show a week, sometimes more, but it was the same thing. But it wasn't like now. People are watching, they got like 3 wrestling programs a month from each freaking federation. And there's so many people, and it's the same shit that nothing's special anymore. Once upon a time, a guy hitting somebody in the head with a belt or getting knocked out with brass knucks and going down and getting pinned, that's special. Now, nothing is special. They keep trying to overdo everything. And when is it going to be enough? And that's everything gets overkill. It happened with the, I don't want to talk about
We could say it
wrestling,
happened
but
with
that's
everything.
what happened to me.
Yeah.
And it becomes less fun. Like it's not as special. Like Star Wars when we were young. Think about how special that. And
Yep.
it's not just because we were young. Parents felt this way too. They came out every 3 years, and we looked forward to it, and we waited, and it was so exciting. Now, okay, there's another Star Wars thing coming out. Oh, you want to start that new show, honey? Okay, all right, Star Wars, and there it is. Things flying on your screen. It just doesn't have the.
Well, I get it. Everything's at your fingertips. I mean, it's funny. 45 minutes, a half hour ago, whatever it was, we're talking about how great it is being in this day and age. But then on one of the other aspects is now the excessiveness of, you're right. Like there's, instead of one Star Wars show, we've got 3 or 4.
It's too much.
Mandalorian,
Cartoons,
Book of Fett,
this.
Obi-Wan, and then that Andor or whatever, and then there's the new cartoons. There's a lot. I mean, I get it if you love the universe, which I thought I did, but it turns out that
this much.
I like it.
I love every movie. 9 movies, I love them, so that's fine. It's just to varying degrees, but it's like, I don't know. But overkill just does it all, like the Marvel movies. But I don't know if people are sick of the Marvel movies. You would think by now. I think I've heard some flack from it. I was saying it
depends on which ones.
Ago,
like I said,
I was tired of it.
The Star Wars, the Superman. Oh my God, the Spider-Man one that I just saw. That,
how many Spider-Mans and Batmans?
Well, but I saw that one. It was good, and the Batman was good. So every now and then something comes back out and redefines it. I said that the Batman was well directed. In fact, I might have even liked it better than that last Christopher Nolan one. I mean, I love Christopher Nolan as a director, but I mean, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight were great, and the third Batman was good, but I think the Batman I liked better.
Horrible, I thought. Wow, I thought that Dark Knight Rises was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I could pick that movie apart.
Yeah, the third one, right?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't hate it. I didn't pick it up, but I was.
Oh, I could. It's like Nightmare 4.
Here we
I'm
go.
telling you, it makes no sense. So many things in that movie make zero sense. I felt dumber watching it. That third Batman. But again, I've only seen them one time each. All of these movies, the only one I want to watch more than once is that Joker movie. Joaquin Phoenix.
Which then when you watch that damn Scorsese film, you'll realize how much of a fucking ripoff it is. It's shocking.
Okay. Oh, Taxi Driver?
No. Well, combination. I said it's a combination of Taxi Driver and the King of Comedy.
I guess I got to see the King of Comedy as well. But either way,
watch the King of Comedy. Yeah,
I will. But the Joker is the only movie in Marvel or whatever the fuck it is, superhero, modern times that I want to watch a second time. They're all one and done. They're just okay. Even if they're great, even if I say it's a 9 out of 10, I just don't get the. I never get antsy to watch it again. I remember, okay, I want to watch Iron Man 2
a handful
again,
of them,
or what? Yeah. It doesn't happen to me. It just doesn't. They're single serves. Where Star Wars, I'll watch again and again.
Well, it's relative because again, when they weren't so much a dime a dozen, I still think the first Iron Man is a classic, and I can rewatch that one. I actually like Iron Man 3 as well, but the first Iron Man. That first Captain America, which everybody thought was only okay, they got better. I actually like that first one by Joe Johnson more. That one was more my style. And they were at the beginning of this whole Marvel Revolution, and they still were the ones that I think I could go back to and say I'll rewatch. The Avengers ones all blend together to me. So they're a one and done. I'm not saying I didn't like any of them,
I don't know
but
what
they
they
just
are. I haven't
all
even seen
blend.
them.
They all blend together, and I'm not. I would probably never go back to rewatch them, but I
I
do
don't know
like
the
that.
difference. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just reiterating the same point. I'm just saying that I agree with you, but there are a handful of standouts that I could go back and rewatch. But because they're part of that universe, I typically don't, because there's so many other things I'd rather watch. Funny enough, but that's still that
Right.
first
They're
Iron
too
Man,
long.
first Captain America. I'm okay with.
They're just too long as well. That's another thing. They're long movies. It's like enough is enough. I don't know. I see. Like I'll watch Superman 2 over and over and over again from the 80s. I love that movie. Other than that, even the first Superman I like. The first three
Even
Supermans I
those
like,
ones,
especially the two.
I go back and I'll revisit, but I'm kind of like
I
the
love them.
same way. They're kind of just like, no, I can watch them, and but I don't choose to.
Yeah, I will watch Superman 2 frequently enough. It's one of my favorites, so I'll put it in. But it's like the modern stuff. No, maybe there's some actresses that I'm interested. Like I want to watch the new Spider-Man because one of the actresses that I found, I know that Zendaya is in that movie.
But she's a
So I wanna
voice.
see
It's a
it.
cartoon.
No, not that one. The other one. She plays.
Oh.
Are you? Am I wrong? Is she not in it? Is she
No,
not the fucking
I'm
love interest?
yeah. You're thinking of yeah. She is of
Okay,
the other one. Yeah.
I'll see it for her. I want to see her. That's fine. Actually, I found out she was in Dune the other day by accident on some advertising. I'm like, oh man, do I got to see Dune now? Because I never had interest in Dune, the original. I never saw it, or this one. Like I said, what do I
It's
care
directed
about?
by a
Fucking sand?
good director, though. That's the only. What do I care
I
about?
know.
Sand.
I know it is.
What
It's
do
just
I
a
care about
boring name.
Sand.
Dune. And when I think of Dune, I think of that other way, like Tron. I think of fucking one of those movies. I don't know. They just don't do it for me. They just don't. I don't know what to tell you.
What do
Yeah,
I
Dune.
care?
It's not an appealing fucking title.
I hear you. But what do I
Just
care
not.
about Sand?
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those
Like I'm
those
crazy.
movies they're single serve movies, and I don't know the difference between the Avengers and the fucking Guardians of the Galaxy. All I know is it's a bunch. It's like they're like factions. It's people thrown together doing some shit. And I know there's a fucking raccoon in one, which I find utterly ridiculous.
Well, if you see the story, the last Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, I've said
is
this
great.
for years.
But
I don't like the name.
The first
I don't like
Guardians of the Galaxy was another standout. That was another one that when I went to the theater, I'm like, they're on to something bigger here. Maybe it's because of the soundtrack, and James Gunn maybe comes from the trauma, horror background. Like he just seemed to make that work. And I didn't like the second one that much. And the third one's inconsistent, but it was it was fun and more enjoyable than the second one. And Christian says it was his favorite one. Possibly even his favorite. And they go into his backstory, the raccoon. So they explain it. No different than any of these other fucking creatures and monstrosities.
Why a raccoon? Well, I guess, I don't know. And I don't like that they call him Rocket because the Beatles had the song Rocky Raccoon. I thought that was stupid that they did that. Either way, maybe I shouldn't feel that way, but that's just my initial thoughts, and they stuck with me. So I haven't seen him. I don't know. I own them all. That's the funny part. They're all here. And I'm slowly.
Oh, wow. I don't even own them all. I have like a Spider-Man one for back way, The Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins, I believe, on like Blu-ray, and I think that's the extent of it.
Again, if someone loves it, by all means, enjoy it. It just doesn't. And I'm not going to say I'm not going to watch them, because I am going to watch them. I'm just not gaga over them. Like, oh my God, because it's all the same thing. And then it's more exciting to see what the thing at the stinger is at the end of the movie than the next movie. So let's get excited for the next movie. That's the best part. Then you get to the next movie, and then as you're watching the movie, like, oh, let's get excited for the next movie. It just seems like it's, I don't know. I can't explain what I feel when I don't know. It's just weird. It's like people are more excited about a stinger to see what's going to happen next. And then whatever happens next doesn't live up to what you think it is when you saw the stinger. And then you're waiting for the next stinger. And you're just waiting. It just never ends. People are going to like what they want to like. And I may like these movies. I just haven't gotten to them yet. I've seen a few.
And I think you'll enjoy them. I think you'll
Yeah,
enjoy
they're
them, but
fine.
I think you'll find that you've already nailed it. That you're never really going to go back to revisit them. Maybe
Yeah.
one or two of them will stand out above the crowd, as I mentioned. But I mean, those are the ones. I mean, I even remember liking Thor, and I think I've used or the second Thor. I think I like better than the first one, and then the
First
third
was
one I like better than the second one. Yet I've only watched them
wow.
once.
Well, there you
I've
go.
only watched them once.
That's okay. That's all you need to watch them. If you're
Yeah.
not passionate about it, why would you keep watching it? So I get it. It's fine. I will watch them. I'll get through them one of these times. I keep saying it. It will happen. I just like even Francesca. Frankie has no interest in fucking superheroes. Doesn't like them
Oh, I don't, yeah.
whatsoever. And Irene took her to see Black Panther when it came out because I guess that has to do with black people or something. I don't know. Right? Black Panther. He really was an African American man. Correct?
Yeah.
It wasn't just okay. It has nothing to do with the Black Panther.
I want to crack
right?
jokes, but I can't. Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the Black Panthers, right? Huey P. Newton and the real.
No,
Black
no,
Panthers,
no.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
no.
that I would like to see. I like the Black Panthers, but this movie they went to see it, and Francesca said, "Yeah, it was boring. I didn't. It was boring." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." And then Irene wanted to watch that Wakanda thing. Is that the
Well, that
sequel
was the
to it or
the
something?
sequel, yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
watched a few minutes of it with her, and she watched it, and it was fine. I just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
Ant-Man, what a
I'm the same way,
ridiculous
man. Well,
name.
that's the problem is they've done everything, and I got out of it, but every now and then they get dragged back in. Like I didn't want to watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3, even though it was James Gunn and the same thing, because I'm trying to give these ones a try, and I'm not liking them. The ones that I liked were that Spider-Man cartoon and Shazam, which is DC. So I'm finding that the DC ones, for the most part, I enjoy more, but I
People
haven't
hate
watched
'em.
all those ones. I haven't watched a
People
lot of
hate.
those.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people created this war between freaking Marvel and DC, and you can't like them both. It's like the wrestling fans. It's like, okay, well, I like this federation and not this one. It's like, what the
It's
fuck?
because again, people are fucking stupid.
They are, and meanwhile, a lot of them are a lot alike, and they just don't really like. If you showed these movies to someone that doesn't know anything about them, like my brother and I were having this discussion. He goes, "You can show Dad WWE and AEW, the two wrestling federations, and I guarantee he won't even realize that they're two different organizations. He'll just consider it wrestling, and he won't even know these big differences that everyone
Like
that are
me.
fans of both of them
I'd be
talks
the same
about.
way as your dad. I
Right,
wouldn't.
that's what I'm trying to say. But these people
Yeah.
insist that are fans. Oh no, this is where it's at, and what stuff they do over there. I'm like, okay, whatever. So it's the same thing with whatever we were talking about. But
I wouldn't watch it. See, I don't. I shit on it
Marvel
more,
and DC.
more to try to get a rise out of you. Yet you don't give a shit because I don't care about wrestling. I never have.
No,
I never
don't
will.
now. I'm
So I
angry.
just make jokes about it. But I mean, the reality is
Yeah.
that, like, but I would never really shit on it because it's just so stupid. Like I mean, like to me, it's not something I'd be interested in. So,
Well, yeah,
but
you
I
have
don't
no
like,
passion.
yeah. So I mean, other than throwing some lame jokes out, there's no passion. You're right at all.
Well, let's just say that this Friday the 13th show came out, or they started making Friday the 13th movies again, something that you love and have always loved, and everything about them was different than everything was about Friday the 13th before, and not good on top of it. And there was just so many things you didn't like about it, but at the same time, all these other people that are like Halloween fans or something, they all seem to love these new Friday the 13th and say, "Oh my God, it's so much better than the other Friday the 13th." And this and you're just like sitting here like, "What the fuck are you talking about? How do you not?" And anyway, enough.
Well, I can't. I mean, hey, to
You'd
a
be
certain
upset
degree,
about it.
to a certain
You'd be like,
degree, I
"What?"
think we got that with the reboot one in 2009, which people really shit on that, and it's like, I don't know why.
I agree. It's fine. Right.
Yeah, I've never understood why people shit on that one so much, but and the changes that some of the changes that they made, I actually liked. Like him
Right.
growing up as a hunter and the sort of the tunnels. I get how did he dig all the tunnels? If you really think about it, but you can say that about tons of horror films and whatever. I still think they pieced it together enough that allows them to get from point A to B and hide out and be able to pop up in different areas and whatever. I liked it.
Right.
And the holding the prisoner thing, I didn't care. I don't care about that. I didn't get so wrapped up in like, Jason doesn't do that, so into his character. Well, they were trying to recreate the character in this movie. So again, no problem with it.
I didn't like those aspects, but I liked enough of the other stuff they did to just say, well, okay, I like the movie. I wish they didn't do this. I wish he didn't take a prisoner, and I wish this didn't happen. But the positives still outweigh the negatives.
You know, it was
So I
actually
can
the
be
most
honest with
generic
that.
part of the movie is the kills. They actually didn't have standout kills like you would in a lot of what you would think in slasher movies. I didn't think about that really as I watch it. Some of the ones the one you hate with the CG blood, I actually like because I just like the the gratuitous boob shot when she's under the deck and pulled up. But I like the freakiness of that guy with the knife coming up through the floor and getting him in the hand and the foot and all that. I thought that was all great as
that
well.
cool.
That was cool. But a lot of the actual deaths, like that, the tent one was like brutal, but not in a traditional Friday the 13th kind of way. I don't know. Everything else just seemed kind of more fast and like not quite Friday the 13th. Like I in one aspect, yes, because I've argued that Friday the 13th was always in, out, and done with the kills. And for the most part, it was in, out, and done. But I'm saying literally, it was like, someone gets an axe in the back or whatever. It just didn't seem to have the focus so much on the actual kills. But maybe other people would agree with that. But from a standout standpoint, everything just seemed kind of blah.
I'd have to reevaluate. When I think about it, I don't.
I mean, there's
that
deaths. There's deaths. They're on screen. But like where the guy he gets the mask from and he slits his neck or whatever he does. Like, I mean, it's there, but it just, I don't know. Sometimes you just miss the fact that there was that, I guess, because you saw him working that tree shredder thing that you just thought he'd be shoved into that or whatever.
True. Well, they saved it for the end.
I know exactly, but he could have, I guess, gotten killed in it too. But
I hear you. I know.
I'm just saying, if you're going to nitpick about something, I mean, the things that they changed were great. It's funny that like those movies were all about the deaths, and there are deaths in the movie, but I felt like they didn't necessarily focus on them the way they did in other films.
That's correct. No, you're right. They
the
had
series.
to focus on other things. That's modern film. Sadly, that's what we keep saying. I want to see a slasher like the 80s, not just looking like the 80s, not just having this going on, but made like the 80s, Anyway, so just like that, we're going right into the reviews.
Hey, who's this?
Oh, yeah. No shit.
Popped out of nowhere.
He did. Whoa. Just like that.
Just like Dracula.
Yeah.
There he is. Just shows up. This is great, man, because we have him returning here, and we happen to be doing something yesterday. I can talk about that, right? Yesterday?
Yeah, because it comes out tomorrow. So yeah.
Oh, great. So we actually recorded a really, I can't wait for you guys to hear this, but it was the return of the Skeleton Crew, and it was me and Alex and Jamie, and we had a couple of guests who are big fans of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and we really weren't when we did our reviews, and we invited them to come on and try to convince us that these movies aren't as bad as we thought, and we were going to have a good conversation. And we had this big, great, fun show yesterday. And I started telling him about what we're doing and everything else. And I know that he loves these, and I tried to get him on before, but it's just that our timing in the morning is just so crazy. But anyway, my main man, my homie, the man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, thank you. Oh, wait, this is. I'm not your main man. Yeah, Jesus.
Well,
yeah.
Awesome.
I get it.
Alex got me started on everything, man. Without Alex,
I get it. I
I
know.
have nothing here.
I had to say something. Alex,
yeah, you
welcome back, man.
Please, you're too nice. No, thank you. No, it's great to be on. And listen, I always say Dave took the whole enthusiasm and everything, and he was so into the Skeleton Crew, and he matched and topped it 100-fold. So like that's so amazing. I can never even imagine, because I put so much into that to get it to where it was, and to think that someone did so much more is like really admirable. So pretty amazing, both of you guys. And
the production on that, though, still, man, that's what I was saying. I can't. That's the thing. Like you've got to balance that amount of energy in production, because it will kill you. It will drain you. And there are people that will love it and revisit and praise you for it time and time again. and then there's the ones that just don't seem to care. And you just, because you said, like, I think Dave told me everybody that's done super production burns out
Oh
at
yeah.
some
Yep.
point. You just do it because there's so much time and effort going in, more than the recording of the show, because you want everything to sound pristine, and you're
Right.
doing all that like extra, whether it be soundtrack, whether it be whatever, the skits,
Uh,
everything.
Clips, skits,
Oh,
soundtrack. Yeah,
great.
and it's funny, you guys like don't even know. Like it's the skeleton crew is kind of like practice, and I did way more than that on the Married with Children podcast. So, and I did
Right.
that for over 3 years, and people there was a whole long thing, but we eventually like split that up, and then I didn't do season 8, 9, 10, or 11, and then a team took over and they did do it. And the
Oh, wow.
guy, yeah, and the guy who was like the biggest fan of our show, he's the one who really said, I want to really take it over the finish line. So I go, okay, well, yeah, I'm done with it. So yeah, go ahead, do whatever you want. And he was, and we even talked before it split up, so it wasn't like just awkward. And within it like 6 months, he was like, dude, how did you do this by yourself? And I was like, why? What's wrong? And he goes, dude, we have 3 teams of people doing this, and we cannot do it every week. And I was like, oh, yeah, how about that? And he's like, nobody understands how you did this. And I was like, I don't know, mental case. And then I was doing that with Skeleton Crew in 2017.
Well, it's crazy. I know, because at the beginning I was listening in real time, editing everything down, and we weren't doing skits,
Right.
sketches, or and I remember that even underlining a soundtrack underneath, making sure that you didn't want it to overpower the audio and whatever. But before I forget, I can't wait to listen to that, or listen to the Nightmare on Elm Street show, as long as
Yeah,
it's not
it's-
Lacey and Dan that are on the show.
It's
I saw them posted that they were watching something. They didn't specify what podcast, but as soon as you said
Oh, for
Nightmare on Elm
them.
Street, oh,
No,
they're
no,
not
no.
on the show. Oh, I
Cut to
thought
the
they were.
chase.
Damn,
No,
I
no,
thought they
no.
were. I was
no.
making a joke.
no, they're
No,
not.
cut to the chase just so happens to be doing a Nightmare on Elm Street retrospective of their
Oh.
own.
Right.
Now, what we did yesterday is a rebuttal from Nightmare on Elm Street fanboys, if you will, to the one that we did in 2015 or whatever year we
Right.
did it.
15,
with
yeah.
the Skeleton Crew. And that's all that
Dave
was.
has
It would
never
almost
changed his opinion of Nightmare 4.
Well, that's what
He's-
you're gonna have to see.
Yeah. I'm interested. Yeah.
It's interesting because it's like, and me and him are like dead locked with we have all the same observations. So
Yeah.
the two of us had to be sort of convinced that it's not as bad as we went on about it for like the last 10 years or whatever. So yeah, you're gonna have to see what we did we totally do a 180? Did we sort of just come around a little? Did we say, okay, it's not sucky? That's what we're gonna have to find out, and how these guys went about it, and if they could even have done that to you, the listener, because I'm sure a lot of people think that movie sucks.
Well,
I'm just kidding. I
is
know you
funny.
don't.
4
You don't.
people love it. I like it. Some people love it or say it's the best. It's
Right.
the ones that because it's funny because 5, it depends on my watch. That could either be one of the weakest, or I kind of get some enjoyment out of it. Freddy's Dead universally drives me crazy, and I hate.
Right.
I can't do it. I think it doesn't even feel like any of the other films, whereas all the other ones at least somewhat feel connected.
Mhm.
5 probably being the most cartoony, other than 6, or the most disconnected, but at least you've got the crew from 4 still there.
Yeah, sort
So
of.
that's what sort of kind of keeps those together. Again, I'll listen, and I'll be the judge. And the only reason I made that Dan and Lacey joke is I was assured I was wrong, but I was assured based on that post she made that maybe they were watching it and then hearing what you guys
For us.
yeah. So that's the reason.
Yeah.
Damn, the joke fell flat again, like every other show.
No.
I'm
Well-
just happy that this stuff's going on. I think that, with the Skeleton Crew and us being able to do shows again and what we have going on here, this is just a good time. I'm having a lot of fun podcasting lately. I've had a little extra time to do it. So me personally, I'm having fun. And what we're doing here this summer has just been a breeze because we BS for a while.
Mhm.
And then we talk about the whichever Frankenstein movie we're on and whichever Hellraiser movie we're on.
Frankenstein.
It's fun.
If you can call
Yeah.
this,
You know?
we'll get into it because we're going to be talking about. Well, wait. There's something we've been doing, Alex, every show here for the visual component. We've been putting us into good old fashioned since this is 1945. I got to snap my fingers and put us into black and white. Oh, look. Do you feel any different?
We're
Wow.
in black
Yeah.
and white.
Look at that.
Yep.
It's a post-production
Unbelievable.
thing. It's the only production we put into the show now. Flip
I
the
actually
color on
have
and
a-
off.
I have a Dracula and Creature in Black Lagoon picture back here. I don't know if I'll be able to
Nice.
get this camera to look
See,
at it, but
He's the guy to have.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Nice.
Dracula and Alice Cooper.
That's great.
And Alice Cooper, Dracula and Cooper.
Yeah.
So now, Alex, I should know this, but I remember the first time you were talking the Universal Classics. Was this one of them? I know you talked about a lot of Draculas in
Right.
that first, not that first season, but the first season that you
The
guys
first,
decided to do them for
chunk.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you did that, what were the movies you covered? Do you remember?
Yeah.
And was this one of them?
Not this one. This was a 2017 show with Jerry Herring.
Okay, so it was a different. It was just this movie, or it was
No, we did House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula.
what
Out
we're
of
doing.
this, and then without Jerry, we did Creature of Black Lagoon in 17, and then we did like the Black Cat with Karloff and Lugosi,
Oh yeah, okay.
and I feel like one more of those types of movies, but yeah, this was separate. Oh, and with you, we did Abbott and Costello, all 5 of the
Right.
horror
Yeah.
ones. That was 15. Oh no, that was right before 100, right? That was like show
Yeah, that was
98
prior to. Yep.
or so. Yeah, 97.
It was in the
maybe.
90s. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. It was that. We had that stretch. We had that. We had the Garbage Pail Kids. We had all different crazy shows going on towards
You know,
the-
everything
that-
everybody wanted to hear.
I put that on. And my son's like, "What the heck are you watching, Dad?" He thought that was the worst movie. He actually had to leave because the snotty Garbage Pail Kid made
Oh,
him
that movie.
nauseous.
Oh,
Yeah, so I went to Garbage Pail Kids.
I thought you meant Abbott Costello be Frankenstein. I was like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
No. I like that one. We're
Yeah,
talking
it's
about
good.
that one next show. But no, Garbage Pail Kids I put on, and he got actually disgusted by that snotty Garbage Pail Kid.
Wow, I love Messy Tessie. That's my favorite one ever. It's funny you say that, Dave.
knows
Another
it.
coincidence. You won't believe this.
Now
So-
what? Good God.
So on the show, I've had a lot of them. If I keep telling you, you're going to be so annoyed. So I just don't tell you all of them. But like, so
way, it's great.
So Dave, in our show that I just edited for tomorrow, the Nightmare one, he goes, Nightmare on Elm Streets are good for normies, and normies like it because, and then he went on to say why. So the way I know the word normies is from the Garbage Pail Kid movie. Like Captain Manzini's like, and remember, and they all go, stay away from normies. And then Dodger goes, what are normies? He goes, normies, the normal people. They hate us. We gotta stay away. Yeah, they think we're ugly. So when Dave said that, I inserted that clip into that, and that's Messy Tessie talking, and that's
That's
all
hilarious.
the guys are talking about. How weird
Wow.
It is hilarious. Now that movie I actually liked growing up because I thought it was like this cult classic. Like
is that? Yeah.
it was. I think it bombed when it came out.
Mhm.
Like I don't remember,
Oh,
like, but
yeah.
it had this following on video afterwards. It was so. I mean, I had the cards. I think we all had.
Oh, I have every card ever made. Yeah.
You still have them?
I
don't
saw
have
they're right here.
Oh
right in
yeah,
front
he's
of me.
big.
Look at-
I always
he's got-
have them right in front of
Like
me.
you
all the
got
time.
those, and I got my freight flits
Oh,
all the
He
time.
even had a show. Alex
Oh,
had
yeah.
a show. He got started doing GPK radio. Whatever
Yeah,
the hell
yeah.
it
That
was.
was my first show ever. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah.
That
It was
is-
a-
He even
it
met
was
the
a
guy
real
from the
production.
movie. Remember? How about
Yeah.
that guy from the movie? Juice.
I interviewed
Didn't he do a
Juice
show
from the
with him?
movie.
Yeah.
And the kid, Dodger.
See?
Wow.
He's all about this life. This GPK.
There we
thing.
go. Holy
Isn't
smoke!
that weird?
I
you
got a
think you're
lot
just-
more to. Yeah.
Yeah, he thinks he's just talking about some dumb movies. He's talking to the guy who's like obsessed with
Right.
it and interview these people.
So you loved it. Yeah, you loved it more, even more than I did. You know,
I've
another
seen
movie?
it 50 times at least.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Oh, this one's
See?
not from as far back, but and it's not quite the cult because that's like almost like I hate you. Almost so bad it's good. Like I'm
Oh,
not.
yeah.
We know we're not watching high art here, but yet
No.
it's so enjoyable.
Still great.
There's a comedy that I always bring up, and it always seems to get forgotten. No one really talks about it. Came out in the '90s though. It's called Freaked. It was originally called Hideous Mutant Freaks, but it then got cut down to Freaks. Alex Winter wrote and directed it. The guy
Okay.
Bill or Ted
Yeah,
Bill,
one of the- yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and it has like Mr. T's in it. Got the cast is great. Brooke Shields is in it. If you ever track
Wow.
that down, it's one of my personal favorite comedies. Like it hits. It's like watching a live action cartoon.
Wow.
So
Why don't I
I
know
always
about
recommend
this?
it. I bring it
Yeah.
up. I bring it up all the time. It was
No, you don't.
actually in the pages of Fango or Goer Zone back in the day, which is how I got to know it. Because I think Screaming Mad George had something to do with some of the effects work. And
In
so then that's
93.
what's got me.
Oh, yeah, with that. Yeah, everybody's seen that guy at the bottom, Dave. You've
Yeah.
seen
I've
pictures
seen
of
that
him,
face.
right?
You're right.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
that face.
But I never saw the movie.
Looks
It's
like
called
half gremlin,
Freaks
freaked.
or Freaked.
Yeah,
Freaked.
half
Okay.
gremlin.
ED.
Freaked.
Yeah.
But
It's-
ugly, but
Freaked.
funny.
Yeah. And
Is it available anywhere? If so, I'm going to get it added to my my
You
MB.
could rent or buy it on Amazon, it says.
Yeah, it's worth.
Oh, okay, so it's out there to be seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had the
enough. Yeah.
VHS and lent it to somebody and never got it back.
Oh, VHS. The
Can't
problem
even
is,
smash it.
even if you got, I know, even if you got it back, you'd smash it now. So it doesn't matter.
It's not the case, but
Yeah, it wouldn't even matter if he had the VHS and couldn't play it anyway.
Do you have a VHS player in your house? Is the question.
I do. I do still have one. I got one.
Oh,
I got one thrift store when they weren't, realizing that there's this new found love for it and jacking the prices up on them. I think I got it for like $5.
Oh, wow.
But now
Nice.
they're
like
Oh, I got
now they're-
freaked.
Yeah, there you go.
I got
check-
excited. It's on my MB. Look, see,
Okay.
Oh, wow.
look at that
It's
shit.
it's
Yeah,
comedy. It's comedy. It's slapstick comedy, but look at it as a live action cartoon. But I think more jokes hit than miss, and it doesn't matter because they throw so many out there. I think it's
Keanu.
it's overlooked. Like no one talks about it, and I watch it
Wow.
maybe once a year. I think it's a fun
Wow.
movie. I don't know why Garbage Pail Kids made me think of that,
Yeah.
but
I do.
I did.
I can take a
Yeah,
look at
if you
these
look at the people,
It's-
yeah, I guess. I
Yeah. It's almost like what do you call it? Like Basket Case 2 or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Where
Yeah.
they have
oh,
the
God.
assortments of oddities and its makeup effects. You know what I mean? It's
Man, I was
prosthetics.
hoping Christian was going to say Cabin Boy when he was building up to this. I was like, yeah, I know. I like that. And he just said,
Hey, would you
"Freak."
like to buy a monkey? I remember
Oh,
that
wow,
one.
yeah, that's what you like to buy a monkey? Get out of
Oh,
here.
that's
you stink out.
Chris Elliott, right?
Elliot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I haven't seen that one either still. Good God.
Oh, dude.
No, that one was panned. That came out. and
1994.
People
right?
hated it.
It's
I got
great, though. It's great.
I might watch these movies today. No,
Yeah,
I
you
can't.
could.
I gotta watch movies for tomorrow for the podcast. I was like, yeah.
Yes.
But still, I'm gonna add it. Cabin Boy and
Yeah.
Freaked. I'm adding them to my
Well,
my
and I'm
little
not
list.
trying to hurry us up, but
Oh, I
Alex
know.
did say he came just to do this, and he has got family over, so I don't want to keep him
Oh,
too.
no, it's okay.
In
Let's slow it down.
which case, house.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's
know the
also talk
feeling.
about Abbott and Costello when we're done, because I know that too.
We're doing that one.
Kids.
That's next episode.
Yeah.
Kids, if you're listening, marry an orphan. It's one of the advices. I give that advice to everybody who's single. When you get married, try to marry an orphan. No in-laws. You don't got to worry about it. It's
Oh
it's
my
one thing
God.
that nobody wants to deal with. It's true.
Only
like me.
Dave could come up
I don't
with
have
that.
in-laws. I did this on
Oh,
purpose.
she's a
I've been
5 out of
married
10, but
twice.
she's an orphan. So I'm
Check it though. I've
She's
been
an
married twice. Both of them didn't have freaking parents that would be coming over. None of that shit. Twice. That's the way to go, man. I'm telling you. You have to.
part of the
Because people don't
checklist.
think about this when they're dating. Like, you know what I mean? No one asks that question on the first date. Are your parents alive? Of course not. But if you happen to come across someone that doesn't
Imagine
have
that.
any
You're like Tinder.
in-laws anywhere in
Yeah.
the area, even if they live out of state, that's one thing. So if you
Marry an
can't get
orphan.
yourself an orphan, you can at least get yourself somebody that the parents are so far away You never have to be bothered with that in-law shit. Just
Get
words of
yourself
advice
an
for me.
orphan. Get yourself-
What if they turn out like the one in the movies
Yeah.
and they have like their
Yeah.
teeth all messed up and everything?
Yeah.
Anyway.
That orphan. Oh my gosh.
God. Did you see
Well,
part 2 of that? You did, right? You
It's
guys.
fun. Yeah,
I actually like
too.
that. It's a great prequel. It's fun.
I did too. I liked it.
I was shocked
Yeah.
at how much I liked it for how late it came out. Like,
yeah, right.
no one was asking for that, and it was a lot of fun.
Like 8 years later, they came out with it
Yeah.
or something weird. Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah, good stuff. Orphan. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, get
Oh, yeah.
yourself an orphan, kids.
Let's
Something
get
to think
yourself
about.
what a segue into 1945's House of Dracula. The Wolfman and Count Dracula beg Dr. Elderman to cure them of their killing instinct, but Dracula schemes to seduce the doctor's nurse.
I'm really
Wow.
curious about. I don't remember Alex's thoughts on. I think he told me yesterday that he loved it. I don't remember though.
I messed up, Dave. I thought in my mind when you said House of Dracula, I heard Son of Dracula.
Oh,
Okay.
But it's okay. I still know this movie, but that's
So-
what I thought you meant.
It's interesting because Son of Dracula, we both, I think Dave and I both said, or at least my argument was, it was an amazingly made movie. It looked good.
Oh yeah.
Full production. It's the longest one, but because it was so
Yeah.
long, it dragged. Dave and I both were like kind of middling on it. We were like,
it's
we
been our
know this
least
is a
favorite.
great movie, but it's
Wow.
kind of like I had the least amount of fun with it. And
Yeah.
all these have been fun. The last movie I think was the worst one, which is House of Frankenstein. I think that was like a hodgepodge. It just didn't feel like there was a good flow to it. It felt the print was bad, and I everything about it just didn't seem to be up to where everything was before it. And now this movie fixes that. This movie actually looks great.
Right.
It's like one of the best looking ones. And I think it brings it back, and they do the mashup better. Whereas like Dracula was in it, you're wondering why Dracula was in the last one, then he's gone. He's never to be seen again. This one, at least, even though Dracula's only in it for still a portion of it, his curse kind of continues for the rest of the movie.
It looms over. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Because now the doctor is infected the rest of the movie. Yeah. This yeah, it's weird. I know you guys, you might not be as into it as me. So if I say things that sound like obvious, just let me know. So like this whole period is like when the movies are like, let's just act like Frankenstein, Dracula, and Wolfman originals are like A-list or A movies. Like there's like the B movie side of things, you know, like
Yeah.
even beyond, like Bride is still A-list. Son of Frankenstein is technically A-list, but I hate it. It's just too long, too everything. Like you got to hear
So
our
you
show.
agree with us? Okay.
Oh God.
Okay.
yeah.
I thought,
Ugh.
okay, good. I thought you were saying you loved it. Yeah, we thought it was
No.
it was way too long. All these are an hour and 10 for the most part. And
Yeah.
that one was an hour and
Perfect.
40, and you felt it.
Yeah. Why? Right.
Oh, you felt every
did.
minute of it. It's amazing. But technically, yeah, that's A-list. Wolfman's A-list. Wolfman meets
Oh, yeah.
Frankenstein is it's weird because of course, as you probably know,
B
and talk,
plus.
well, because they cut so much out of that. Like obviously Frankenstein is blind after Ghost of Frankenstein, you know. So by the time he goes to Frankenstein meets a Wolfman, he's supposed to be blind, and that's why Lugosi's putting his arms out and acting weird and all that. But and it's also Igor's brain in the monster's body at that point. So that they thought the best thing we could do now, well, since Chaney played the monster in that Ghost of Frankenstein, now if he's going to play the Wolfman, somebody else has to play Frankenstein. And what better to, let's just put Lugosi, since that's Igor's brain in him anyway, and he could just talk like Igor. So he goes and does that, and people hated it. Like he's like, hey, get out of there, blah, blah, blah. And he's like talking, and apparently either test audience or executives, they hated it. They laughed at it. They said this is absolutely ridiculous. And I have the original script, and I reenacted it. I put it on YouTube years ago.
What? Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, just to fill in those blanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
so people could actually see it, because that footage will never be found. So I figured
So that's, you mean they had footage of him talking? 'Cause we were wondering, funny enough, Dave and I did say this. Like they had him talking at the end of the last one for that last sort of capper.
Mhm.
Then it ends,
Right.
and then he doesn't talk in this one, and so that
Right.
explains it. So he did, and they cut
Oh,
it all out.
Oh yeah. Yep.
See,
That makes
I knew
sense.
Alex would bring the heat. See, he knows this stuff, you know? I
Awesome.
wish
yeah.
you could have had him for all of those movies, but
I
I guess he can
know.
catch us up here with all with what he
This
does
is it.
now.
Yeah, I'll just
Because,
throw it all in right now. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, Dave. I told him the last show I heard of you guys is The Brood, and I've been on my own little thing since then. So oddly enough, the ones I missed are the things I know most about. So if I knew you were doing it, I would have just jumped on earlier and done something with you guys, but I didn't realize till this weekend. Yeah.
Oh, and we've gone through them. It's gone fast, but
Yeah.
this is great because that makes so much sense. But it also makes like that's why Ghost of Frankenstein was really enjoyable because it was back to fast paced again,
Right.
and
It was short. It was like an hour.
Well, that's it. Like I
that.
love
Hour
these. They're-
7,
we're
hour
talking about-
10.
Dave was talking about watching found footage recently, and some of these Frankenstein movies, same thing. Now, like I said, House of Frankenstein was probably my least. Well, Son is probably the least enjoyable, but it
Oh,
was
yeah.
a better made movie, no
Right.
question.
Oh yeah.
But my least, like, it just wasn't fun. Like
No.
it just felt. And then the last one, House of Frankenstein, was probably the sloppiest made one, but because it was so bad shit, I could go back and watch that one. Like it's just so. You're like you're scratching your head, going like, "What?" Like it just shifts gears
Right.
so much that
Right.
this is definitely more structured. And Dave, like you haven't said much about this one, like House of Dracula. The only thing is, it's barely a Frankenstein movie. They find him,
I know.
they try to revive him, and he pops
He's a
up at the
prop.
end to do.
He's a prop, and
that's it.
they even said that. I think Karloff said he will. I think he. See, it's weird because Ghost came out, and Meet Wolfman came out before these, but for some reason, I think Karloff felt he was going to be a prop immediately, even in Ghost, which is weird because he wasn't, even though he had no speaking part, which is weird, right? Like he
Yeah.
learns how to talk in Bride of Frankenstein and then just stops.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
why
it.
would you?
Silly.
It's
Yeah.
like they backtracked. They said, "No, maybe we don't want him being that intelligent anymore, or
Right.
something."
Right. So this whole thing about Frankenstein is just a prop at this point, and that's all he is. And then you'll see in Abbott Costello, everyone's a little more like you'll also see a pattern here of the Wolfman. Like in these, well, actually in all Wolfman movies, basically, except for the first one, all he ever wants to do is die.
Right.
Yeah.
It's recurring.
That's it.
Same thing.
Yeah, this guy has nothing else on his mind but dying. And it's like such a shame because I love Lon Chaney Jr. and I love the pathos he brings to this. And I love everything about him. But damn, they did not give that guy a thing to do in these movies.
Well, that I felt that in the last two. This one I felt was better than the last one though. This one because he feels like he finally got cured of his ailment.
Right.
But you're right. Like he's kind of just left. He sort of just pops up.
Yeah.
Again,
He
like
does.
the script convenience is there. But something just works a little bit better. This one, I think, like I said, it's just more structured, better production value, better photography, better acting. Even Carradine, you now like where he seems kind of a fish out of water, maybe because you're so used to Lugosi before, and then all of a sudden Carradine comes in, you're like, what? Now I was willing to accept him more in this one, and I think he's better in this one. But when he comes back, when Lugosi comes back and Abbott Costello, you realize, man, you do miss him. Just for these
yeah.
movies, he brought so much that like you just unfortunately you wish he was part of these two that don't have him in it.
Thank God he has
Oh,
that
man.
voice and that presence, right? Like if he didn't
Yeah.
have that, we'd be like, oh God, what is this? You know? So thank God. But the one thing that House of Frankenstein has is Karloff, though.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that kind of puts it over this one for me. I know like you're more into like the movie making. I'm kind of like still like a kid at heart with that. I'm still into I just want like Karloff in my movie and stuff. So
Well,
I do favor
get
that
it.
one. Yeah.
No, I get it, and I just said like Dave, I know we've been talking a lot. Like Karloff was great in that one, even though he wasn't the monster, he was the other doctor. But yeah, it was just so slapdash, like I've said,
Yeah.
that I just for shits and giggles, like from an entry that's easily accessible and easy to, like a fast pace, like I said, another hour and 5 minute movie or 7 minute movie. They're very easy to watch,
Oh, yeah.
but this one just was, I don't know, this one worked better for me.
Right.
I don't know, Dave, what you thought, if you were on board with this one more so, or if you thought this one was slower.
I'm kind of stuck because it seems a lot like the last one, which for obvious reasons, but I liked having Karloff in the last one as well. And Alex, I don't know if I told you this, but I've been talking about it throughout ever since the Wolfman showed up. I have basically the way you feel about Cheney and the Wolfman, that's kind of how I am now. Not as passionate. You've loved him for so much longer. But for me, and I said it last show, Christian, that I love that character of Larry Talbot, and I love, Cheney's portrayal. He's very sympathetic. He works. Where in the last movie, he seemed like he had more to do. There was more going on with him. Remember, he met that girl and everything else. And the other guy, and he was sympathetic. Where in this movie, yes, it's still the same guy, and I still love what he does. But he seemed like Christian said, he just shows up, and it's all about him dying, which it was last movie too. But for some reason, he was more relatable in the last movie for me than this one. And in this one, I get confused, and I guess there's some questions I had about it. But right now, they're kind of neck and neck. They're very familiar. Like the first one.
Oh, yeah,
Ghost of right. Dracula's in it for the first half and then dies.
Right.
Similar here. You know what I mean? And then that happens. And then Frankenstein is a prop, but even more so in this one than the other
way
one.
more so. This one he's an
Right?
afterthought almost.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's between these two,
weird.
it's just preference, honestly. Like it's that different. It's that there's that little bit of a difference. That it's just preference, honestly. And the Larry thing.
Man, he's
like
great.
the last movie, the line that does it is when that girl first meets him and she's tickling his feet and she comes up on the carriage and she goes, "What's your name?" And he's like, "Lawrence." And she goes, "Do your friends call you Larry?" And he's like, "They used to." Like that right there was like, bam, wow, they used to. Like, and then you just think of this guy had a life before. He had a father. He was interested in Gwen. He came from the States. His brother just got killed in a hunting accident. He seemed to have a very fruitful life. He's a good head on his shoulders, family issues, just like in his real life. And one day or one night, he's bitten by a werewolf, and his life has never been the same.
It turns tragic, exactly. But
totally tragic.
You hit it on the head earlier too, and you said unfortunately they don't do much with him, or because it's a mashup of monsters, they don't give enough weight to him. And in fact, it's funny, Dave, that you thought there's more to him in the last one, and maybe you agree with it too, more out. So I'm not too sure. For this one, I thought even though he showed up, I thought he was back to kind of that feeling I had when we watched The Wolfman for the first time, where he is probably his most substantial role because of the fact that he kind of like, he's like, "Why did you help me?" Or he wanted to stay with the doctor because the doctor was willing to help him, and then the doctor cures him and essentially pretty much takes on all the monster factors himself, whether it be Dracula because of the blood infecting with him, and then almost like he's turned crazed, like he doesn't turn into a wolfman. I thought they were going to put it to that level. Remember when the moon changes and he doesn't change? It's a really well done scene, actually. But then the hunchback nurse runs back in. I forgot her name, and she runs back in and looks for him. I thought he was going to wolfed out. I thought they were going to put it that somehow. I don't know why, because it's not like the Dracula infusion or whatever, but it was almost like that he was affected by it as well. It was almost like he was turning into every monster. Now, I don't know why that makes him go back to regenerate Frankenstein's monster. Is it just because he went mad at that point? He totally lost
I would
it.
say so. Yeah,
that was it. Okay,
he almost has that like Jekyll and Hyde thing going on.
That's exactly. I think they were almost like that's exactly what they're trying to do. Well, I didn't think it at the time, but you again, you hit the nail on the head. Like he's good, and when he's bad, he looks like Hyde. Like the
Right.
makeup and everything looks exactly like what I remember the old version would be.
Right.
And then that's when Frankenstein comes into it. But Frankenstein's literally very secondary to this.
Oh, it's pathetic, really.
You see,
Sadly,
I do like how they tried to connect it, because I think they even try to throw in a line of dialogue. Go, well, this is where him and the doctor must have gone through the quicksand and
Right.
ended up here, as if it got whisked. Like I don't know.
I think we did the geography back then, and I was like, wait a minute, what? How could he be next to this guy's house? It just makes no sense. Oh yeah,
That was
totally.
script convenience. But again, if we come down it, we definitely do come down it more now. So I guess we should probably come down on it, even though it's from the classic era. It doesn't give it a pass. It was script convenience. But
Right.
I love how the human flesh will deteriorate and decompose, and you're left with a skeleton. But Frankenstein is a-okay.
Yeah, why? He can't breathe. There's no way. Like, just because you brought dead tissue back to life, it doesn't mean it doesn't need air anymore, or it doesn't need any blood movement or anything or whatever. Like, I don't. What is this? It doesn't. He doesn't need food, I guess. I don't even know why that's a thing. Yeah, like I don't get it. He doesn't have to go to the bathroom. Nothing.
but he eats in part 2. He eats in Bride. Remember, he eats.
Right.
And cries and
Right.
But never again. They completely changed the character. But I mean, we see this. It's like Christian said. We compare to like Friday the 13th and everything, and all the people the stuff they complain about in the modern franchises. It really started here, and nobody complained then. They just did what they did, and so be it. I'll say this: confusion. This is what I need to ask you guys about. Maybe you can help me. I thought that he would turn into a vampire when he got Dracula's blood. So I'm thinking, okay, he's a vampire now, but he doesn't act it. And then I'm like, why is he all of a sudden so obsessed with immortality? When I'm thinking, well, if you just took vampire blood in you, maybe you should be immortal. And then I didn't get that, and then I didn't get why he attacked that Siegfried guy. Could you help me there?
and Roy.
Yeah, and Roy, except it was a cat instead of him. That small cat that was there was actually the giant cat.
Why did
Tiger?
Dr. Edelman attack Siegfried?
Yeah, remember he jumped
The
on him. And
stagecoach guy and killed him.
Yeah.
the
Did he kill him?
stagecoach guy that became a big deal at the end. He's
that
a murderer.
they're right on. Get back to the house and said, "Well, were you with him? Or you were with him for the last hour? Well, this murder just happened 20 minutes ago." I'm like, "This is the fastest police investigation ever."
Yeah.
But anyway, I get it, Dave. Like you're right, because I thought if he said he had Dracula's blood coursing through him or in him and
Yeah.
it mixed up, but it's like it just turned him mad almost. It didn't
Right. No
necessarily-
vampire things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Although his shadow or his reflection does disappear. So
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
he's slowly turning, like maybe it's a slow transformation, because that's that whole scene when he's looking in the mirror and his shadow disappears over time.
It's weird though, like it's very childlike how they wrote it though, because it's like
Yeah.
just because he's a vampire, he's evil now and cynical and whatever, like, and now he just wants to kill. Like, no. Vampires do that to live and like to keep sustaining their immortal life. They're not exactly evil. It's not exactly, there's a lot of reluctant vampires too,
Well,
You
were
just don't
they
seem to
allowed to
listen.
have, on that note, were they allowed to have reluctant vampires at that? I think they had to distinguish evil as evil, or they would have been censored or whatnot. And again, I'm
Maybe.
paraphrasing a bit just based on his film history and whatnot of what I remember them allowing. I think you had to distinguish that it was evil, because you're right. It would have been nice, if maybe they didn't have all these qualities, but I think that came later.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't it
film.
come later though? Like at the end, didn't he sort of like regret what he was doing or something like that? The doctor, and
Well, he knew he was bad, but I don't know. I don't know. Was there resentment?
He kind of
or
prompted
regret?
them to shoot him, right, or something. Like,
No. He went in to bring the monster alive, and he was almost going full batshit, and that's when Talbot comes in with the gun. And he says, "I'm sorry, He's like, you wouldn't do this. You traded on me. My life. You said my friends wouldn't do that, and I, whatever. And then he gets shot dead.
Huh.
Which again, if he's a vampire or has these vampire tendencies, should that have killed him?
Right, that too, right?
Because he died like a regular human being.
But
in a
then
sense.
somebody could argue, yeah, but he wasn't full vampire yet. Because remember, think about like any vampire story. There's always a process. It's never like they bite you and then you're instant. Like even in Dracula, like
Right.
it takes, I don't know, either like multiple times or you have to die eventually. Then you come back as the undead and all this stuff. But then it's like, well, how does he have to drain every drop of blood out of you to kill you? It's always some weird convoluted thing. But even in like Lost Boys, Michael was like, just from drinking that blood or whatever, he was he could fly or do whatever, but he wasn't a
Yeah.
vampire.
Yeah.
Things like that. I think that could easily be argued. So we wouldn't have a leg to stand on if we had a problem with that. So they would just say, yeah, he's not a vampire, so he could still get shot and die right now. And yeah, it's like, these movies at that point, they were just a cash cow. And the reason why they had these continuity errors, like location, like even if you paid it, since like I said, I didn't hear your last 3 or 4 shows. So if you noticed, like all these towns kept changing. It's like that town of Frankenstein's, Visaria, it's something else. You know, it's always something else. So and then people are like, well, what is all this? I don't even understand any of this. The reason why is because they knew that nobody is rewatching these and paying attention. You go to a movie house, you pay a nickel, you watch it, and you never think about it again.
Exactly.
And that's the culture back
then. They make a little reference to it. The fact that the continuity, like in the sense of like, even when the dam broke, they talked about the dam, like we referenced in the last show
was great.
where I make fun of it because his dialogue is so exposition filled that he like literally catches you up to that moment. It is in that stupid little bit. But the more I talk about that movie, the more I'm like, that's stupid fun that I could just throw on, like House of Frankenstein, I'm saying. So maybe this was a better made movie, kind of like Son of Frankenstein, but maybe I would put House of Frankenstein on first.
I would.
Because of it's just so loony and zany. Both are short, both are quick watches, but that one's just so more like batshit out there with those dialogue. But you're right. Like again, to answer your point, you go to the movies, you paid, you're not renting it and watching it last night before you go see it again. You haven't seen it for a bit, so you're just going by memory and going for the ride. The way it should.
I just had more questions, man. Like this movie, I just have more questions, like the ones I said about immortality and Siegfried, and even the beginning when it opens. The guy just comes in his house at 5 a.m. and the guy.
How did Dracula come back? You're right.
He's sitting there in a suit, freaking sitting on the couch asleep. I guess I don't know. Maybe he got drunk and passed out. But he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here? It's 5 a.m."
Well,
and he goes, "Okay, well,
how did
let me in
Dracula
your
come back?
basement.
Take me to your basement."
Okay.
I'd be like,
You're
what?
right, Dave.
Dude, get out of my house.
They always
And then
did a resurrection scene or something, but Dracula just shows up and he was dead.
See,
in the
that's
last
even
movie.
worse. That's
You're
even worse
right.
than freaking coming up with a fake one. It's still better than Freddy pissing fire or the dog pissing fire and Freddy coming back. Like I got to
This has
see
been
that
mentioned every
show.
show, Alex.
So yeah,
This has been mentioned every show.
He told me that he was mentioning it in every show. Like he
Because
said
it's
that,
true.
you know, I've been doing Frankenstein's, and whenever he comes back in a dumb way, I say, "Hey, it's better than pissing fire."
Yeah,
That's his thing.
it's true though. How could you deny it? So there's all these questions. I love the bat, by the way. I think that's a cool effect.
Oh yeah,
I like it. I like that cat. It's a good acting cat, you know. And
great actor. I think he's also on strike right now.
Yeah.
he's got
No royalties or anything.
Yeah, no, they get no meow mix.
And I'll say something which might be controversial, but I believe that Glenn Strange is the second best person to play the Frankenstein's monster. I thought he was really good in this in the short time he had. He looked like Karloff. He had the right mannerisms. He moved right. And we're going to see more of him in the next movie, correct?
Yes.
He wasn't in House of Frankenstein though, right?
Because they never even said who it was.
That was
so
that was that caricature one that was like,
no, that's him.
Yeah.
It is him.
No, yeah.
That is Glenn
he
Strange?
looked like a cartoon. That's crazy.
Oh,
Because this one he's barely in, but he's got it down to science at Abbott Costello. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, he kept making those funky faces in House of Frankenstein. Yeah, like that, like I don't know what he was trying to convey. And you know what's really freaky about this? So so when that movie was being made and Karloff was obviously on set with him, he was coaching Glenn Strange on how to be Frankenstein. I'm like,
Wow.
I didn't get that.
No,
Like,
it
What?
looked. I said it looked like
Wow.
the most cartoonish version, like
Oh,
a
yeah.
caricature of Frankenstein, more like the House of Frankenstein or Frightenstein or whatever that TV show.
Right,
That,
right,
like
right,
it's just
right,
a
right.
dummy on a gurney or whatever the whole show.
It's
That-
comical, yeah.
But then when he moves, it's like so the fact that he got
Wow.
maybe Longini was trying to lead him down a bad path.
I don't know. No, not Longini.
No, like
Karloff.
Karloff.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was
Yeah.
leading him down. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Karloff's like, I'm not gonna let you be better than I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what you should do? Just go like, it'll be great. That's what I meant to do. I didn't get to do that in my movie though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks,
the
Mr.
makeup was
Karloff.
too constricting
Thanks,
back then.
Mr.
I couldn't.
Karloff.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me. They were really James Whale was weird, dude. So just do it.
Carbalage. It just goes.
Oh man,
James Whale was
So-
weird, but not because of that.
Word. Well, I guess it's safe to say Glenn Strange just gets better with each movie. Then.
Oh yeah, I would
Yeah.
say
Okay.
so.
Well-
He was great in Abbott and Costello. Yeah.
Okay, well there you go. See, and it's been a while since last time I saw Abbott and Costello was when we did it in
Right.
whatever year, 2015 or what have you.
14.
Or 14. So
14, yeah.
I'm going to be seeing it again. But I remarked, I saw his name come up in the credits in this one. I always look at the credits because you can't help but look at him in these movies. They're right there front and center.
Right.
And I always look for names that I recognize. I didn't see his name in House of Frankenstein, but I did see it in this one. I'm like, oh, so this is where Glenn Strange is in it. And then that's why I remarked about him. But I didn't realize he was in House of
Oh yeah,
Frankenstein.
yeah. Even he has a great
Wow.
name. He has a great look. He's a Western guy. So when Jack Pierce was doing a Western, he goes, "Can you do me a favor? If I pay you for the next hour or two, will you sit in this chair and let me just throw some makeup on you, let me do whatever I want?" And he goes, yeah, I'll use a few extra bucks. So he sat there, he put the flat top head on him, made him up as Frankenstein because he just had a hunch. And then because he knew Karloff was showing no interest in doing a fourth movie, or maybe he already did not show interest. And then we went through the other two guys, and then I guess they knew something was coming up. So he just had a hunch and wanted to see, and he did it. And he goes, "Wow, that's." I think Pierce almost said, I think he said that is actually more what he envisioned Frankenstein to look like than Karloff,
Wow.
even though Karloff was so great. Yeah.
Looks pretty close. I mean, the look is in this one at least. I don't know about I don't remember in House of Frankenstein, but so do you know the reason why, Alex, in House of Frankenstein, why Karloff is in the movie as the doctor and didn't opt to be the creature, or was it just because he didn't want to do the makeup?
Oh, you gotta remember, he was already done twice with the Frankenstein. He was done after Son, so he already didn't do Ghost of Frankenstein, and he already didn't do Frankenstein Meets
Right,
the
but he
Wolfman.
wasn't in them either. In this movie, he's actually in the cast,
Oh,
but he's
yeah.
not doing Frankenstein. I find it odd, you know.
It was just a novelty thing, and when the big thing they wanted to do at the end, the big moment was Frankenstein's monster carrying Karloff off. Like that was a big deal back then because it was like, wow,
Which he did do.
the
right?
Not
Yeah,
this
I-
way. Not this quicksand.
He goes, "No, you
Quicksand.
idiot! That's quicksand."
Quicksand.
What are you, deaf? I said, "No, turn around. What are you doing?" So yeah, no, it was just a novelty thing at this point. And he was also in a movie called Frankenstein 1970, I believe. If you look that up,
Yeah.
I think
Was that the
Karloff-
hammer? Was that one of the hammer ones?
I
or-
think so. Yeah.
I thought it was. Okay. Maybe
So-
we'll do them next. The
Yeah,
the Hammer Frankenstein.
Yeah, you should.
Hey.
Oh, I'll join you because I actually love like 2 or 3 of them.
How many
Yeah.
are there?
I think like 5 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah, they did a good. I mean, I whatever excuse I have to watch Hammer now, it's just like revisiting these movies. So I hadn't revisited these movies for years.
Yeah.
Years. Earlier this year, put Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and Abbott Can Still Meet Frankenstein on, and The Wolfman.
Oh,
I went through all the classics,
that's
and
the
then we
one.
decided to do this for Summer Sausage as
Yeah.
well, which is what our summer series is called, Alex, as you well know. I think now,
now
because
I
we
know.
couldn't just call it summer series, we had to call it
You
something
think
else.
it's something, right?
Yeah.
So you guys should definitely think of doing Invisible Man this winter. That's like a winter movie. If you want to, it's snow in it a lot. But like if you want to do that, that's a great one that you guys would love. Christian, I don't know if
I've
you
seen
saw
it.
it. Oh, you
Yeah.
seen
I
it
like
too?
it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
great,
that
right?
was the other one I watched earlier because I tried to watch all the original. I didn't watch Creature. That was the but I watched or The Mummy, but I watched The Invisible Man earlier this year too.
Yeah, that's the guy who plays the Wolfman's dad. That's who plays Invisible Man. Yep.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
Claude Rains, right?
Claude Rains, yeah.
Yeah. See, Wolfman might be my favorite. Wolfman or In Bride.
Yeah,
Probably,
those are two of the
yeah.
best. Yeah.
yeah. They're great.
So
Agreed.
so you guys were talking about like the best Frankenstein. So the only options you really have, you said obviously Karloff, you don't F with that. So it's like, that's fine. So from there, it's just Lon Chaney, Bela Lugosi, or Glenn Strange. So I have a soft spot, obviously, for all these. You gotta remember, I have been watching these like for real for 30 years. Like I started at 13 or so, and I'm 43. So I've been living with this for so long that I can't detach like those types of feelings or anything. So yeah, no, I have a soft spot for sure for all that stuff. But if I were to distance myself, yeah, Glenn Strange for sure is definitely the best. Chaney, I think he could have done better because I know he could do a lot, but he was doing the whole eyes closed thing, no emotion, just, and then he had the big chubby cheeks, and it was strange to just see another face in that.
Is it Glenn Strange?
No, he was
Waka Waka.
And then Lugosi, that's a weird one because
it was a weird one.
It was weird.
But
He's too short.
I forgot he was blinded. Which remember, Dave, we were talking about why? Because when he to see Alex,
like,
you remember,
blind.
He's like going like this. He's like, like he's looking up like this.
Wow, so you guys had no idea he was blind.
Well, he says he's blind.
He
does say. I remember he said he was blind at the end of that movie, but then when they stopped him from not talking in the next one, I just assumed he wasn't blinded anymore. But that I thought it was just bad makeup trying to make him
got more power.
Lugosi and more or less, less Lugosi and more Frankenstein, and then he couldn't see, so he lifted his head up and looked this way.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's why he did that now. See, that's just it. I never realized it either because, every movie they're trying to make him more powerful. It seems like, okay, now he has the strength of 100 men.
Oh my God, I would have loved to hear him talk for the whole movie.
The strength of 100 men. Omar, you're my friend. Oh, wait a minute. What the fuck? I'm blind. What happened here?
What good is a brain with no use of
eyes that cannot see?
Yeah, with eyes that cannot see. That's
great.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He goes, gee, I don't think we checked your blood type now that I think about it.
Now that you think about it.
Just kidding. But no, so that was just like a forced Frankenstein moment just to get him to talk like Igor. That's all that was. So and now that you didn't even do that, now it's really just weird. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I don't want him to talk like Igor. If he's gonna talk, I want him to talk like he does in Bride. You know?
Right.
Although it's a lot. He sure gets a whole lot of dialogue in a hurry, but still, it's still cool for what it is.
Right.
I mean, I would have said the weakest one was Strange in House of Frankenstein, only because of the caricature moment. This one, he really didn't have much to do, but he's great in Abbott and Costello. And so then Lon Chaney, though, was great in those first three. So then I have to kind of give it to Lon Chaney. Karloff, excuse me. I keep saying Karloff, because Lon Chaney was fine, but nothing.
He didn't get much.
Yeah, and Lugosi just seemed kind of miscast. It was just kind of a way to keep Lugosi in this franchise, I think. So I guess I have to give it to Karloff when all said and done.
Who had that outfit on? Who had that furry outfit on? Which one was that?
Karloff. That was the horrible movie.
Yeah, that was the
son. What a terrible look. It's as bad as Jason's look in freaking in Jason Lives.
Oh yeah.
Well, that too. But you know how the gloves and the belt.
I thought you meant the big coat that he wore in Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh, that fucking coat. Which every time you see a picture on social media, it's always
that
coated
one.
Jason.
Oh, that gets me so mad.
Me too.
I hate
Yeah,
that. I
why is he
hate
wearing a
that so
coat?
much.
He's cold. It's Jason. Especially he's supposed to be undead. Why would he feel
Well,
cold?
why is Frankenstein wearing a fur coat? Like, it's
Well, that's dumb too. Why did they give him a fur Captain
Because
Caveman?
that's their way of showing that he's weakened and he needs like, things. I don't know. Like
Warmth.
Yeah.
he just needs something now. He's not the same, I guess.
I'm so glad he looks like he should with the, whatever he's wearing, the sport coat. Back to normal,
the
The
sport
sport coat.
The sport
Isn't it a sport coat he's wearing? Isn't he like
Yeah,
dressed up in a
yeah,
suit,
yeah.
Frankenstein? If
lounge
you think
suit.
about it. A lounge suit? Okay.
With the arms that are way too short to show that his arms are like from a taller guy. Yeah, let's do that.
Well, this movie, I enjoyed the movie still. It's not like it. I think we could say it's just kind of like in the middle of the series. It's nothing that stands out above the crowd, but it was enjoyable. I liked it, but now that the more I talked about it, as when I finished the movie, I'm like, well, that was definitely better made and more enjoyable than the last. But now I think I have to recant that and say it's a better made film. But I think the last one was just more fun to watch, but not necessarily for all the right reasons. I just liked it for the craziness and of it all. But
like the girl getting whipped and everything, and then the guy goes and kills him.
Yeah. Frankenstein loves
that
throwing
was cool.
people out of windows too. I love it. It's always like picking up somebody and throwing them out of a window.
That's where Friday the 13th got it from. See, they started throwing people through windows too.
Yeah, let's not talk about part 4 where he's randomly standing outside of a second floor window and just pulls a girl out and then takes the thing out of Jim.
Yeah, Alex,
Don't get him
I'm with you,
started on
man.
this.
No,
Yeah.
I want to do a whole thing of continuity there. They they switched that in editing. You know that it was probably written in a way that
absolutely.
it was consistent, and then they just said, this doesn't work. Let's play around with it a bit. And then they had him leave, go up, pop her out of the window, go back down, kill.
And this all, I think Dave, we did that in our commentary.
Dave's
Could have
getting
all
so
been
much.
taken care. Yeah, could have been taken care of.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or Gordon, I don't care whether you believe he killed himself or just jumped to his freedom, why he ran upstairs where the door was open, because we know it was open because they come through it and they go in. And then when Jason's in the basement, but when they come back out, there's a dead body at one doorstep and Jimmy's hanging up on the other. There's no time for any of that to be done. But again, I love the movie, but I'm just saying.
But there was a few weird moments.
Yeah, there's unexplained moments of continuity issues in that
I think
film.
Gordon ran upstairs, I think, because he was going to attack Jason. He smelled him. And then he got up there and pussied out.
He smelled his penis.
Jason is in the basement. Jason's always in the
Stump.
basement because there's no chance for him to. The only thing that can happen is when Rob comes and says, like, he's here. And then he runs back down. Then if Jason was like in the back door, he could have stuck back down. But it's just from a timing standpoint, had to have been in the basement that whole time. And Rob just hadn't gotten to him. And that's why he got skilled in the basement.
Weird.
But
yeah,
I'm sorry,
go
we
again.
went on a whole tangent.
Friday
my
the
fault.
13th fanboys.
Yeah.
Again and again and
We
again.
can't stop.
Till the end of time. It'll always come up in just about every conversation.
Well, if it makes you feel better, you guys both know this, you've both seen it, but maybe for the audience. So they give the audience who's like following with you and watching all these, hopefully with you for the first time, they give the Wolfman another purpose in the next movie. It's not about just killing himself. They give
Yay.
Frankenstein some meat, a Dracula absolutely front and center. As far as what their little crew's doing. So yeah, much better writing. And it's funny, Costello did not like the writing of that movie.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, he actually criticized it. And they went with it anyway. He did it anyway. And it became the thing they'll always be really known for. I mean, like, what are they known for besides that? Buck privates or in the Navy or like Hold That Ghost?
It's
I mean,
really who's on first.
Everybody
That's
talks
it.
about who's on first.
But
they
did the meets the Invisible Man and Karloff the Killer and
right,
the Mummy.
And
But
Dr.
Frankenstein
Jekyll.
was
yeah.
I think Frankenstein was always the one that they were. No,
Oh,
my
yeah,
God, just
of
went
course.
crazy.
that'll always be their thing, and that's the weirdest part about all that. But yeah, so like that's a great ending, at least. And like that's where Universal Monsters kind of get sent to die, is with Abbott and Costello. But they always go out on a high note, so it's a good thing.
Well, yeah.
True.
I mean, I just watched it. Dave, have you said you've seen it already, so
Just once, but I'll be watching it tonight.
yeah. Oh, cool. But yeah, this was good. I mean, rating wise, I mean, I'd say I'd give it like a 7 out of 10.
I'll give it a 6.
Okay, so you guys are doing so I gotta
Out of
rearrange
10,
my
yeah.
thinking.
You don't have to, Alex. But yeah.
No,
Whatever you
I
want.
would do 3.5,
double.
so 7 is
There you go.
Perfect.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah, 7.
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah, I think I gave them both 6, the last one and this one. I still don't know which one I like more because I don't know. But
Well, you're right though. The structure, it's funny,
know?
the structure is very similar from a screen standpoint time, except for Frankenstein in this one.
Right.
But again, just this one just seems to be more time felt like it was spent making the film or something. I don't know. From a cinematic standpoint, this definitely looks like a better movie. The pools of light or the shadow, the way that they worked with all that looks great in this.
Yeah, it's more elegant than the last one for sure. Yeah. I'd say
And
so.
yeah, and I think it continues into the next one, which again blends. Well, we'll talk about it, but it blends comedy just right. Like, I mean, I don't think it makes fun of the monsters, which is why, although there's comedy there, they never get made fun of. And I think the comedy comes from Abbott and Costello doing their thing in the realm of the monster, the world of the monsters are in.
Right. It's
that's
why
why-
it works.
yeah.
They play it straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
nice.
And we didn't talk about the great scene real quick. I don't know what we'll get out of it, but one of my favorite scenes from this movie though is when like the doctor and the nurse go into the jail cell and Talbot just like
changes
right in front of them because they're like, it's all
Yeah.
in your mind. You have to understand. And it's like, and then he just does it. He's like, oh, yeah, about that. Well, most people it's in their mind, but yeah. So see me tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But it's true though, because I don't think at that point it's never been done in front of somebody else, correct?
Yeah, I guess not.
I mean,
Then it
turned
happens
into
again
a-
later.
Like with the girl where they got whipped that had a crush on her, she was
Right.
outside, and remember he turns in there, and that's when he crashes through. Even though the door's open on one side, he crashes through the part that's closed, so
I
that
never thought
it
about
can be
it.
cinematic. But I don't think he's
Well-
actually shown anybody what he can do yet.
He's turned back after his dad killed him.
Right.
But
Turn back, sure.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess he never turned in front of a person watching. Yeah.
And he did it later, right? Didn't he do it twice in this movie? Transformed?
In
Because
front
I
of
remember
people?
seeing it again. Yeah, because he
Yeah.
kept doing that thing with his teeth. And I didn't like it. There was as much as I've liked the transformations of the Wolfman throughout. And this is another example of when you start using more, and I'm going to call it CGI. I know that's not what it is, but when you start using less practical and you start trying to do more in a different way, like they did here, I think it kind of hurts it a little bit. I think the original transformations looked better than what they were doing in this one.
I think this was just more dissolves. Instead of 3 dissolves, they used like 6 dissolves, and
Right.
then in one of them he did that thing with his teeth a little
He
bit.
did
I
it
know what you're
both times
talking
with
about.
that thing, both
Yeah.
the whole time. It was one face, and his teeth kept moving. But I was like, why are they doing this? It looks like they think that it's going to look better, but in fact,
I think
it
you're
looked
right.
better the old way.
yeah,
it's
I
like
think
CGI and
You're
practical.
trying to try to get some movement there in between
Yeah.
the dissolves to kind of
to make it look more organic.
exactly. Yeah,
But
like
instead
Yeah.
it looked. Yeah. Right.
but
Yeah.
again,
I
I
think-
applaud them for what they're trying to do. You figure
Yeah.
at this particular point in time, though, you thought maybe they would have gone one step more than just adding more dissolves into the mix. But hey, I guess if it's not broke.
Right.
So
Yeah, and they don't have
Hey,
the biggest budget at this time either. It's like Alex
Right.
said, that these are more B movies
Yeah.
than the Wolfman, of course. You know what I mean? Which is,
Mhm.
had a bigger budget with a big movie. So
They were
worked
no
with what they had.
longer. Yeah, they were no longer making profound stories like tragic stories anymore. Now it's just
Yeah.
let's get these ghouls everybody likes and throw them all together, and everybody will have a party.
and
And it's like
it didn't seem like
okay.
these were rated anything different. Like anybody could go see these. Like I don't think they were like restricted to like younger audiences or whatever. These were made, and you just were able to go if you want to go see the new Frankenstein movie. You went to see the new Frankenstein movie,
Right.
unless I'm mistaken. like, I don't know if the G rating is in retrospect or it was
Right.
always for general audiences.
Huh, yeah.
From I just noticed that they're rated G on the IMDb now, or approved. You'll either say approved, but one of them I saw G, but it might have just been whatever browser I was using at the time.
It could be
That's
after
possible.
the fact.
Yeah. I'm gonna look into that about the old ratings and the systems and the way they were. I'm curious. I've always been curious about it. I never sat down and, like researched it at all. But next show. It's a cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Been a while.
Yeah. Well, we kept Alex longer than we were supposed to.
Oh, no,
So-
it's great.
But it
Good
was great.
time. Yeah.
Oh, it was great. I'm so happy, to have you on, and I knew
Yeah,
you'd have
Thank you for.
knowledge.
Well,
Oh,
he
yeah.
mentioned you might want to jump on. I'm like, well, let's see if he's ready now. And I like, we didn't know, and then you're like, yep, coming.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
No,
So thank you.
I told my wife, I said, listen, I still got to jump on here. And she's like, all right.
Tell her I said
Tomorrow-
hello and sorry.
My family's here, but okay. So you might have to hear, but here, listen. Let me get us back into color here. 1, 2, 3. Look at this.
Wow.
I know.
There you go.
It's magic
Color.
here.
The life came back.
Yeah.
Yep. And now we got to talk about Hellraiser. And,
Yep.
I'm
we
sorry.
gotta
Well-
we gotta let Alex go. No, I've been enjoying it. No,
Yeah, I know you said it.
honestly, at the end of this, I'm gonna look at like I did last time. Last time we did it with Amityville, and we did it with what was it? Texas Chainsaw? What the hell was it? I
Oh,
can't remember. See,
yeah.
what was it? Amityville? Was it Texas Chainsaw?
it was Texas Chainsaw.
Whatever it was,
yeah,
when I
Texas
rated
Chainsaw.
those first 8 against the other 8, whatever it was, for the longest time, Amityville was still actually in the lead when I added up all the ratings I gave and
Wow.
divided it by the number of movies. I'm not sure what's going to happen when we get to the end of these final 8 Hellraiser movies and the 8 Frankenstein Universals, what I'm going to have rated higher. Because I have
Wow.
had, I've had a good time with the Hellraiser sequels. So we'll see what the next one holds, and why I love the remake. There's no surprise there. People know that. I've said it a few times, but
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying these Hellraiser movies.
What was the
So,
one with that like sort of hot chick at like some house party or something? Hellraiser, was that 7 or 8?
that
'Cause, like,
was I
she
don't know the
wearing
number.
red. She's wearing red or something.
That's
Oh, is that
but
Hell
that's
World?
Hell Se-
Or
that's
Hell?
Hell World. That's been my
Wor-
least favorite actually, but it's Hell World, and
That's
yeah,
my
I would
least,
say that
probably my least favorite too.
it was
Yeah.
right after. I can't remember what the number.
Deader. Deader is the one that has the girl that you
Deader's
liked,
the good one,
and I
Yeah,
liked
kinda
Deader. And then Hell World was my least favorite with Lance Henriksen. Like decent cast, but it just
right.
doesn't make
but-
like it really doesn't make any sense.
What'd you say about
Yeah.
part 4? Because I like that one.
So do we.
So do we.
It's actually one of my favorites, other than
Right.
Good.
other than probably the remake now, which is keeps coming up every watch I've done.
Wow.
I
We
like
should
it
have brought
more.
you on for 4 because Hellraiser 4, I knew you liked it, and
Yeah.
and the first one was Frankenstein, and I thought about it then, but it's just that we record at crazy times.
Yeah, just
Sunday
always
at
let me
9.
know. Just say yes or no.
Yeah.
True.
And with I would have liked to be on Revelations too.
That was
I tried
another
to
one I
get you-
liked.
That was the
So
last one. Yeah.
Revelations and Bloodline I've always liked. Bloodline
Right.
I always thought got a shitty rap, and I've liked it since the get go. It was interesting to see the someone tried to piece together kind of like what you're talking about with the Frankenstein movie. Someone put out like a recreation from the script, the original
wow.
script on YouTube. I was back when YouTube was 10-minute segments, so you have to watch it in
Right.
10-minute segments.
Yeah,
And they
watch
do
16
even
videos, yeah.
recreated through like animation the scenes that weren't done, but
Wow.
even the structure, because the space thing was just supposed to happen at the end. It wasn't supposed to bookmark the
Yeah.
movie like it did. It literally just went
Wow.
through time and ended
Mhm.
at the space segment at the end, and then becomes Pinhead in space, because you kind of start it with that, end it with that, and make it tell like the story's happening from that standpoint, recollecting the life, but it's actually plays out back in the day, and it evolves through
Yep.
the bloodline. So
cool.
it's very interesting that I would have loved to see the work print. And this was the work print version taken, but then him or her inserting
Wow.
the scenes that weren't filmed or were never completed and doing that. So it exists on YouTube in some form or another. But it's a
Yep.
curious. It's if you love the movie, or if you're a fan, it's worth checking out. So, I think I thought he froze, but then he started
Wow,
moving
yeah,
again.
I had no idea, so I definitely checked that out.
Yeah, you'll like it, being a fan of it.
But yeah,
No,
Revelations was
we're
a
getting
shocking
weird.
one.
The connection's getting weird.
Yeah, which has never happened on Zoom before. So sure, I was just praising it yesterday and saying we've never had any type of tech issue, and then it just
Well, that
happened.
was
now.
very,
So
very
odd.
like it was very mild compared
Well,
to
yeah,
like what it
true.
used to be.
Skype is a whole other story. But yeah, we got Alex. We got to get him out. We know that
Yeah.
his wife
Thank
is
you.
waiting and family. But thanks, brother. Love you, and we'll see you again soon. And he's frozen.
I think he froze.
Unbelievable. He might be here for the rest of the show.
Yeah,
Froze.
frozen.
I'm real serious.
Anyway, he's back,
Anyway.
everybody.
All right, let's start Hellraiser. Let's go.
Yeah.
We better let you go while we can, and it can be recorded. So
Yeah, right.
thank you, man. It's been
Yeah.
a pleasure. Come anytime. You know.
Yeah. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Great show as usual. Glad to be on.
Well, thank you. We'll do it again.
All right,
Yep,
brother.
absolutely. Yep.
Will
Say hi to the
happen
wife.
again.
Have fun.
Yeah. And
Yep,
to the
you guys
family.
too. Yep, you too.
Later.
See ya. Later.
All right. So there we go.
Now we got
Um,
Hellraiser Judgment. Wait, were you ready, or did you want to say something first?
No, I don't. I could pee, but who gives a shit? I'm fine. We'll talk.
Hellraiser Judgment 19. Oh my God. 2018.
19.
I'm looking right at it. 2018. Detectives Sean and David Carter are on the case to find a gruesome serial killer terrorizing the city. Joining forces with Detective Christine Egerton, they dig deeper into a spiraling maze of horror that may not be of this world. And it's directed by Gary J. Tuttlecliffe, who's had
The guy.
and written, who's had some various involvement in the
And did
last.
the makeup. And did the makeup again. And is the freaking guy who has the most screen time in the movie for the most part. As far
I
as
didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah. What's it? Hold on, I wrote it down here. What's that guy's title? The assessor or whatever. The auditor. Yeah, the auditor, the first guy, the guy in the suit, the auditor. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is Tunicliffe. Hold on, let me make sure, but I could be wrong, but that was my memory. Hellraiser Judgment. Let's see. Damon Carney, Sean Carter, Randy Wayne, David Carter, Alexander Hess, Christine, landlady. Yeah, Heather Langenkamp gets fourth billing as landlady for the 2 minutes she's on the screen. Paul Taylor, yeah, Gary J. Tunicliffe, the auditor. So yeah, so
Well,
he's him too.
I gotta say, I like the look of Pinhead in this one.
oh,
This is what I was
Pinhead's
trying to say.
great. Yes.
I wish they had this guy in
Yep.
Revelations. I wanted
100%.
Doug Bradley in Revelations. That would have, I
Right.
think, elevated and people wouldn't have hated it so much. But that shitty Pinhead makeup and actor, unfortunately, if they just had this guy with this
Yep.
makeup and that look in that one, I think Revelations would have been better. Then you would have at least had two movies with the same Pinhead and consistency. So
Yes.
I kind of alluded to that last episode, and now seeing this one again and watching the full thing, this Pinhead was the best. This has some good to great moments. Great might be exaggeration. This has some good moments, but overall, I wasn't that big of a fan. It's an ugly looking movie. I mentioned it. It's got that gold hue. It looked the most video-ish. I think this is, even though it was 2018, this didn't feel like a lot of the look of it just felt more shot on video in certain instances rather than
Inside.
shot of digital. But there's some good lighting, but for the most part, it just didn't look like quite a film. It looked more like an episodic TV show from back in the day or something like that. I don't know. Like the look was just a little off. And they tried to filter it out, but when they filtered it, it looked muddy. I didn't like that stuff with the adjuster, adjudicator, or whatever to that much. It had its moments, but with the vomiting and the eating of the notes and whatever, I get there's something going on there, whether that I don't know if there's more that's grounded in spiritual beliefs or whatever, but it just felt all just what? And what the fuck's going on here? And I just didn't buy into all of it. But the acting is decent. The following, like, since this is more back to that following some characters that happen to be mixed up in Hellraiser, this one's doing it better, in my opinion, than Inferno, Hellseeker, and Hellworld. That's for sure. But I still think I like Revelations a touch more,
I
and
agree.
maybe even like Hell on Earth a touch more. So this one is it's kind of right in the middle for me.
I like it. I just like Revelations more. And what you compare it to me, it's kind of a step back with going back to the freaking detective stuff again.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that Tunnicliffe wrote it, so this wasn't a script that Pinhead was wedged into. But for half of the movie, like the meat of the movie, all of the second act and all that stuff with the procedural and with the detective stuff, that as you're watching, it seems like that would be a movie you could make that complaint about. Say, this looks like it was already an existing property and they wedged them into it. And this is the same thing that people say about Inferno and whatnot. And there is some truth to it, as we've discussed, but it's like,
This one was written as a Hellraiser, and you're like, kind of like, but it feels exactly I exactly agree.
It's an improper move after what we just saw with freaking Revelations, taking it back to everything with the sex stuff and with the box and keeping it simple and the people coming back from the dead and the way they looked and everything that we liked about the last movie, except for the Pinhead himself, they didn't do it here, and it didn't make sense because they opened the movie up saying that the wooden box isn't doing what it used to anymore. People aren't drawn to it. So let's just invite people to a house. And that's how. So now the lore that you've had through all these movies about somebody opening the box all of a sudden is out the window just because in the first minute of the movie, Pinhead says, let's do it a different way. Yeah. I find that lazy. Why would they do that? I don't get. You could have just had the same movie and just written in a different way, where the opening guy who ends up being a killer or a pedophile or whatnot gets to the place. And yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't like seeing the assessor sitting there behind a desk. That was always my big turn off. But
the vomiting and the women on the other side. I mean, it just goes. I know what they're trying to do in a sense, but it just rubbed me the wrong way. It's just like, I agree. Kind of just like not unsettling. It just gross, but not like. Literally, I didn't like it at all.
That's what my note says. I don't know if you could see it, but it says all this is gross.
Yeah,
that was like my third.
I could see,
and it should have been the human centipede guy instead of the guy that they had in that role as the assessor, eating the tears of the freaking kids and puking. That 100% should have been the guy from Human Centipede 2, the big guy. You know what I mean? And what was that? But the funny thing is, you know who actually plays that guy is John Gulager. And I didn't realize it, so I looked it up. That's John Gulager. That's Clue's son. That's the guy that's involved with the Feast movies and the other ones, and he was in the movies with them. I go, wow, that's him, huh? Yeah. And then I find out that the auditor
is
played by Tunnicliffe. But he reminds me, I like the way he looks, but sometimes he reminds me of C-3PO. And that was kind of like a little weird. Like a couple times he went, huh. And like his mouth barely moved. And it was like a reaction.
The auditor or the adjudicator, whatever the fuck the guy's
The auditor. Yeah, the guy with the cut up face.
Or the guy from Spaceballs. Then you look like the guy, the Pizza the Hut side guy. Next time, Pizza will send out for you.
Yeah, boy, it's been so long since I've seen it, but
not the way he talks, just his look.
No, but his look. And that's what I thought about C-3PO. His look was a little C-3PO, and his reactions a couple of times. Like he moved his head and he goes, huh. He did it twice, and both times I thought of freaking, because what did he say? And he said something like,
oh, like, R2. No. Oh, no.
I don't know, but he did say something when the guy says that. I know you need something. Either way, it doesn't matter. But there are things I liked. but it was gross in the beginning, and so be it. And it's just a different approach. And I'm like, why? I like that they skin the one guy in the beginning. That's typical Hellraiser stuff when that pedophile goes in there, and I love those girls. Something about them I love, even though it's gross. But blood doesn't
Them
really
eating
gross me out,
You know, I didn't know that you could spell judgment that. I thought judgment was always with an E, by the way, too.
isn't it?
Well, no, it's both ways, I guess.
Oh,
So no, maybe I'm wrong. Judgment,
yeah, it's
noun.
with an E.
No, this one in the title, it's not. It's JUDJG, mint. No E.
Maybe I'm messed up. Okay,
No, but
maybe
I
I'm messed
I
up.
always write it with an E. But even
So
when
do
I looked at it, it's funny. It says it looks like you can spell it both ways. How do you spell judgment
Really?
in Canada? We
Oh
all
my
spell it.
gosh.
Maybe it's the Canadian way, but I always spell it with an E. Maybe no, I don't.
Okay, I'm typing it in judgment or judgment and to see what it says. In US English, judgment, no E is the only correct spelling. In UK English, judgment with an E is standard, but judgment is used in legal context with a G. So in the UK, they always put the E,
Interesting.
unless it's a legal thing, then they put JUDG like in the States. So in the States, English, US English, judgment does not have the E. Isn't that something?
That is something.
In Canada, would rather do things like the UK than the United States for whatever reason.
But it sounds
even
like
though we're on the
sometimes
same continent.
sometimes we align with certain things. I think possibly even judgment. But yeah, this wasn't. I'm surprised. Again, for whatever reason when this came out, remember hearing people say it was good. But when you really drill down, I think it was not people. I think it was Moods and JP that said it was good. And I didn't
A
think
lot of people like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's that good. I think it's
I
on the
agree.
I think it's on the lower end of the spectrum of the
I'm not
series,
going to go that
unfortunately.
far.
Well, on
I
the
like
lower end. Like when you really think, like again, when we talk about the series, I you know I love 1 and 2. I like 3. I really enjoyed 4. Well, there's
Right.
we're already at 4 movies. And then I've said Revelations and Deader have stood out. So now we have 6 of the films of the 10.
Yeah.
So it is on the lower side of things for sure.
For
but I
me-
think it might be my next one. But I'm just
Okay.
saying that's how I felt like it just, yeah, I don't know. Like it didn't have that direct to video feeling that the ones in the ones that came out in the 2000s had, even though those were shot on film and finished on video.
Right.
This was shot on
Freaking
digital
90s.
and it just had a different look to it. And some of it
I
was
know.
enjoyable. Some of it
Right.
was good, but other parts just didn't look that great. And okay, aside from the look, the story just felt like you've said it the best. We went backwards. We went,
Yeah, man.
we should have been going in a different direction. And I think, and I don't even know if, like, when did this guy have a chance? Like, so is his brother, was he always a serial
Yeah.
killer? Was he always this self-righteous serial killer guy? His brother never knew it? Or did he just latch on to it and kill the last two? Or was he always the killer? I killed
No,
all
it was
those
always-
people. It was always
It
him.
was always him, but I think what kicked it off was the affair that was going on.
Okay.
Is what it was. And then and I like the idea. It's something we've seen before. Yes. It's something like the 7 Deadly Sins, like the movie 7 or this. And I'm sure there's been a movie with the 10 Commandments. So it's familiar territory. It's okay. I'm sure we've seen things like this before. And that stuff was interesting. That was fine. I just thought they spent too much time on it and not enough time on the Cenobites and not enough time on Pinhead, where, like I said, we're going backwards again. Like they should have taken cues from freaking the last movie, Revelation, that said, okay, we can still do a movie that surrounds the box and what's going on here. And they went the other way here. And I don't think they needed to. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie.
It was
I also
gory.
enjoyed
There
all
were
of
some
them,
good
for
moments.
the most part.
I hear what you're saying, but something about it just keeps it like great. it just hovers there. My rating's not horrible for it. It just sort of
No, not at
hovers
all.
in the exact same realm that some of the ones on the lower, like Hell World is my lowest, and then this sort of just sits there where Inferno, Hellseeker, and this one kind of all kind of hover in that same sort of realm. That it's not as horrible as people make it seem, but for me, it's just a mile. It's like a 5.5. Like just a mile past. I'm not just trying to get to the end of the route. I'm just saying, but that's it. There's nothing to sort of elevate it beyond that. There's some good gore, and I did like the Pinhead better than the last one.
And the
but
Cenobites.
Yeah,
That was cool when they had
Yeah.
that one. They won that one room. They finally, the auditor or whatever his name is, finally goes in and visits Pinhead, and he's in there, and they're all in there, and they got those ones, the twins, and the other one, and the Chatterer. And they look cool, and the presentation of that was cool, and some of the musical stings were cool. That stuff was good. I just think they spent too much. I think if they would have spent 25% less time on the investigation, and took that 25% and added more about the box and the lore and the other stuff with Cenobites, it would have been better. I really like where they get towards let me get to the beginning first. I think it was a bad move by letting us know about the dog inside of the girl. They should have
Yeah.
just let the dog, like the thing happen, and then discovered the picture, because she gave it away. She goes, they hear a noise inside the girl, and they're like,
yeah,
has anyone seen the dog? I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, thanks. You just freaking ruined what would have been really cool to pull
It
the
was a-
dog out and
Well,
then look at the picture.
They were going for the, oh my God, the dog's in there, where they should have just been like, what the fuck
Shown
is
it.
this? And
Right.
then, and you're right, the reveal would have been, oh my, even that much
Yeah.
better. But they thought the punchy part would be by like laying all the cards out for you to see. But you're
Yeah,
absolutely correct. In
Yeah,
fact,
it's
I
little
thought
moves
that
like
would
that.
I thought that went from being cool to kind of ridiculous. Like the dog's gonna live in there. Come on. Like,
True.
so I was a little, as much as they were trying to go for, I think I would have just been better off, like with the Dr. Giggles reveal, where the dog comes out of the body, and you're just like, what the fuck? Or they show it, do like the bladder effect and the rumbling, the stomach tears, you see some hair, and then it shows the picture or whatever like that, and then it could cut away. Like you didn't even have to show everything. That would have
Right,
been
for sure.
just a better reveal. I agree.
That would have been fine. I like the girl being in there. Actually, does she remind you of Ashley Lawrence too? Kirsty? I thought she looked like her. I almost like they
The
did it on purpose.
detective?
Yeah. She kept reminding me of her. Yeah.
Huh. I thought she looked like somebody, but that's not who I was thinking of. But I wasn't necessarily, I couldn't picture someone. Maybe that's who I was thinking of when
Look
I
at
saw her.
Ashley Lawrence now. Look like when she was on Joe Bob and she was there, or go on her Instagram and look at
Haven't
her.
watched
and
Joe
the
Bob
way
ever, bud. It's
That's
one
okay.
of my,
Well, go
it's
look
one
at
of my
Instagram.
missing. I've never watched Joe Bob.
Okay, well, she did a good interview on Joe Bob when they did it. But anyway, just go to her Instagram and see what Ashley Lawrence looks like now. It actually looks like the girl in this movie looked. And I agree with you. I said this before, I don't like the way a lot of modern movies look. It has that look when they're inside with the lighting. However, any outside shot looks great. And this is a thing that I've noticed in many, many movies. When they're outside, they look great. When they're inside, there's something like someone put a film or a glaze over the camera. And the color's a little bit weird. Not as bad as it was in the 90s for direct home video, but I've said this many times about the look of modern independent movies. A lot of times they have that look when they don't have the big budget, and I don't like it. But
well, it's funny
just
because
is
you
what it
expect
is.
a slightly bigger budget for something with Hellraiser on it, and I know that there maybe could be wrong with that, but again, you figure they could have gotten, like, I don't know what it is, because some of it looked fine, but other times it looked like direct to video, like the movement in it and the shoddiness and the murkiness of the colors and whatever. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And I for a low budget indie film, I'm a little bit more forgiving of it, because you got to work with it. And for something that has a Hellraiser name attached to it, you think that they would have been able to have a little bit more, at least put into the equipment end of things.
True. Well, I'll say this. I really love where they go in the climax and where it ends. The last 10 minutes, I love her. I like when the reveal happens, when we see the photograph of the last sin behind the thing and that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened here? And then it comes up because I didn't telegraph it. Even though they give us hint, they talk about the guy, he was in the war. Are you too close to the case? Do you have PTSD from the war? And you start, and not at any point do you think that he ends up being the Preceptor. I don't think they. Right?
At least I didn't think so. Well, now,
Yeah,
how
good
did they
reveal.
get the wife there, though? Wasn't that a little forced? Did he call her
I
in?
can't remember while the wife comes. No, the wife tracks him for something. It is explained in the plot. I just forgot what
Yeah.
it was. She shows up there for a reason. I think the phone call is made from there, or no, she's lured there for that reason specifically. I could be wrong though. I have to go back and look, but I don't know. But I do like when it gets revealed and what we see there. And I like what the guy says. I loathe the modern world, and he starts talking about social
Yeah.
media and phones and all that. I'm like, you're onto something, right? This wouldn't be
Yeah.
happening. And so they're talking about that, and then I thought it was funny and weird. I don't know if you picked up on it, but I had to rewind and watch it to see Pinhead walk up to the auditor and push him out of the way and then talk to the guy. You never would have ever thought you'd see Pinhead have to go up to somebody and physically like push him out of the way to step in front of him and do something. In the past, just his powers would have caused it to happen some other way.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what
yeah.
I mean? I just found it weird that he walks up and he pushes the auditor out of the way and then gets in the face of the other guy. Watch that scene again. It's so out of place because it's Pinhead.
Yeah, they
But-
should have like had that's when a thing of chains would have zipped out. and
Right.
Fired
But he's
him
not
out of
trying
the
to
way.
hurt him. It's his
Yeah.
friend. It's
But
the
st-
auditor. He works for him, but still, you know what I mean? He pushes him out of the way. I don't know. It's funny.
I love how there's more jobs
but-
in fucking hell than on Earth.
I know, right? It's really cool. See, I really like all that stuff with the angel or whatever it is in the other side and how they said, even the beginning, they're like, well, you know, same city, different zip code when the guy says Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And they're talking about the other, and like, and then he's like, oh, sin ordained by heaven. And when he gets the pass and why, and that, I love that type of otherworldly stuff about heaven and hell working together and the dynamics of it, the politics of it. And then what happens? And then the Jesus wept thing at the end.
Yeah.
I thought is all really cool and surprising. I was like, they're really going to do this to this being, and they do it. And then when the actual end, the punishment that he gets, I can't be punished. I can't have pain. It doesn't exist for me. And then, okay, well, now we're going to put you here. I'm like, holy shit. Brilliant. I love that ending. I thought it was great. So
Well,
they
I
brought it
actually-
up at the end.
I
the
forget
last
a
10
bit of the
minutes.
ending, to be honest, because I watched this a week ago. But
Oh,
But,
dude,
yeah.
when Pinhead ends up being where they send him at the end,
yes,
now he has to be a
Okay.
human and do that.
Yeah,
Oh, dude,
yeah. Now,
it's so cool.
yes,
He's like a raving lunatic now,
Yeah.
that's what would happen. I don't know. It's cool. I really like it. I liked this movie. I give it the same rating I've given a lot of them. Like the lowest rating I've given, I think, has been a 5.5 for Hellworld, and everything else has been a 6 or a 6.5, even a 7. But I want to recant on it and say the one that I did give a 7. I think because I think I gave it a higher rating than I gave one that I liked better. So once again, this is another 6.5 for me. I liked it. Don't love
Yeah.
it, but it's serviceable, and I enjoyed my time with it. I was fine with it. You know,
and
the good news
I
there.
said 5.5, but again, I would watch this one before Inferno, Hellseeker, or Hellworld. I would. So I said 5.5,
Me too.
5.5, 6. I'm. It's all the same in the realm, because some 6s I'd be like, I give a 6, but I'll watch it again and whatever, and I would watch this again, so it falls in that realm. So yeah, I've been more. Well, put it this way, we're done because I've watched the other one again too, and that's only gone up. The 2022.
Sweet.
Every view I've watched, it's gone up
Awesome.
1 full point.
Amazing. See, so I guess we could say it for next show, but just in general,
Yeah.
Hellraiser as a franchise, it does not hit the lows that the big 3 hit. Am I correct in saying that? We've
Well,
rated Friday the 13th and a
Yeah, it's
Halloween
funny.
and
It's
a Nightmare on
funny.
Elm Street lower than these ones. It's a
I
fact
have rated one or two or
in each
3
franchise.
segment.
No
Yeah,
shit.
I mean,
See?
oh my God, New Blood, Goes to Hell, and Takes Manhattan were probably rated lower than any of the movies
you
in
have
this
it.
franchise.
Okay.
Or New
Nightmare on
Blood
Elm
might have been
Street?
tied, tied for
Okay,
the lowest,
but
and
still.
then and the other two, so tied. And then there's two that were, but there's also two more movies. So,
Well, there's one more movie here. That's it.
well, there's
Oh, I
well,
see
but
what you're saying.
10 versus
There's more
12.
movies, but I'm talking Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, and Friday the 13th.
See,
All
Nightmare
of-
on Elm
even
Street,
even
Nightmare on Elm Street's a
Texas.
little bit weirder because Nightmare on Elm Street, my lowest is Freddy's Dead, which I don't even know what my rating is. But so that one, I would say it could be even Steven. Or still the first two of this series I like better in the
Mhm.
first Nightmare on Elm Street. But again, overall, Nightmare doesn't get as low except for Freddy's Dead.
Okay,
That would be the
all right.
one that
I
is
thought
just,
maybe 5 would be just as low with you. Like it would be
I go
below
back
4.
and forth
We're
with
at a
that.
4.
It is,
you
it's
know?
below 4,
That's
but
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
I don't give it a, I don't give it a, but 4 I don't mind. I just don't give.
No, but what I'm saying is you haven't given a movie in this franchise a 4. Yet in the other franchises you have, or less.
Yeah,
That's my
true.
point about the Hellraiser franchise, is that people shit on it when most of these movies are serviceable. They're fine. They're not terrible. They never reach the lows that freaking Halloween, Friday, and Nightmare reach. That's just a fact, I think. Or even
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw.
Or maybe
I know
it's
you love
because-
Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, Texas
but
Chainsaw doesn't have a low one for me, but the
really, even what do you call it? Even fucking The New Beginning or whatever the hell it was, the Terror Part 4. It's awful.
Oh yeah, that one was awful. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was by 4 to
Okay.
10. I think you're right. So
That's
that
what
is
I'm
one.
saying.
Yeah, but yeah, and that one deserves it, and so does I think, and so does some of the other ones we're talking about. But I will tell. This is where it gets weird. So then I'm like, this is where the number system can get thrown right out the fucking window for all I care. Because I'll probably put on Freddy's Dead before I put on Hellraiser, Deader, or Revelations, or any of those other ones, and I rate it lower. I will put on Jason Goes to Hell before I put on any one of those movies.
You know
What does
why?
that say? Because
you spent a lot more time with them. You watched them growing up and you've seen them fucking 20 times. In these movies, you've only seen once, and they're just kind of like watching a fucking episode of CSI, some of them.
true.
So,
and so you're right. And then
there's
that,
no
that would be,
volume
yeah.
to it, you know?
Yeah, and that just goes. And again, Friday fanboy, but I can still say like these ones are of lower caliber, no question. But I would
Yeah.
still probably put those on before putting one of these ones back on again.
I understand that, right?
We leave
right,
we
well-
don't leave for another like 20 minutes. 5:30. Let me just double check now. You freaked me out. Just let me check this.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up now anyway, so that's cool.
You can keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, I mean, more on that, I guess, next show, because we have only one more to go. We just have one more episode of a Summer Sausage series. That's going to be it. It's the Hellraiser remake. And it is, what's the other one? Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm looking forward to that show. It's going to be a good way to end the this series.
Yeah, both movies are highlights, and so it's going to be a fun episode for sure. And Hellraiser, like I said, when I first watched it, maybe it was just being maybe it was just me being in the shit mood, like sometimes I said, but I tried to go in and I was bored. And I didn't like the characters. Then I rewatched it before the year-end show, and I went up a whole point.
Yeah, I remember.
And now that I watched it again, and I'm like, I have none of the problems that I remember having at the gate. I don't have these character problems that I was not into them, and I don't find it boring or anything. So I don't
Nice.
like, everything has just changed. And yes, it there's no question it's a standout. Now, whether or not that comes after watching all these other ones, that may play into it, but no, this one stands well above. This one looks like a real movie. In some cases, even more so than when I say real movie, they might come off a little cocky or presumptuous, but it's glossy. It's something like just that polished look that even the first two don't even have, really. This one actually stands.
Well, now
above
we
it
have high definition
production.
cameras.
Exactly. But
That's
I'm
all.
separating that, the look and whatever, just from a structure and everything else. Yeah, it's a highlight, and I'm looking forward to talking about it next show.
Yeah, me too. Okay, well, we'll be out, and next show we'll talk about what's going to possibly happen in the future for the rest of the year, because we're having some fun, and we just wanted to talk to you guys about it. But that's next show. So let's get out of here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a great time. It started off a little pissy, but we ended up really happy.
For sure.
So that's good. Yeah, we turned Christian's day around at the very least. So
Absolutely.
hope we turned your day around too, listener. So there you go. How about that? Manchichi, we love you. Thank you guys for everything. You got anything, C?
Good night, everybody.
Peace.